I will call to order the Tuesday, June 25th regular meeting of the Dayton City Council. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I need a motion and a second for the agenda.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion, any changes? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 4-0. On to consent. I need a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
I second.
I need to amend something out of A.
Okay. Go ahead.
A on item, get back down here, P I believe it was. We were talking about the Fernbrook or Territorial and Dayton Parkway intersection. It's noted in there that I had brought up a question about Dayton Parkway and Territorial, and that should read Brockton Lane and Territorial was the question I brought up. We were already talking about Dayton Parkway and Territorial. I just wanted to make that clerical fix under item P in the meeting minutes. Very last sentence.
Brockton and Dayton Road, is that what you said?
It said Territorial and it says Territorial and Dayton Parkway. It should say Territorial and Brockton.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Anybody else? All right, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Consent passes 4-0. We are on to open forum. Limited to 3 minutes for non-agenda items. Come on up. State your name and address. No council action will be taken and items will be referred back to staff.
Charles Wagner, 17611 North Diamond Lake Road. Just got a couple items here. I just want to thank the council and Mr. Mayor for your contribution to the lake treatment this year on behalf of the Diamond Lake Improvement Association. We greatly appreciate that. Second item I have is we had a meeting with the Diamond Lake members last Tuesday, and it was brought up about the new boat landing, that it's not accessible for anything other than small kayaks, canoes, or duck boats. And we're wondering if you could help us with some horsepower with the DNR. We've contacted the DNR from our group, and they came out and measured it and did all that, and they said it was built to their spec, and they won't do anything other than that. So we're asking for maybe a little bit of horsepower from the city to help us maybe get that set up for Marty, are you laughing?
That's the horsepower.
Anyway, we're asking for some help with that, with the city or Three Rivers or.
So it's not as deep as the old
No,
one was?
no,
And it needs to be dredged or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, they built it for kayaks, canoes, and duck boats. So there's a lot
That's
of
the issue, is the depth.
the depth, yes.
It is shallower on that east side.
Yeah, it is shallow.
Now, I did see about a 20-foot pontoon come out of there today.
Well, you know, the lake is up 2 feet.
What did it skag?
From last year. So right now, there's not an issue.
Okay.
But when the lake is at normal level, you can't get a big boat in and out of there. Or you can, but it's very difficult. So if we could put that on as an agenda item at some point and maybe get some help, Marty.
It probably took about 6-7 years to get what you got.
Well, it took more than that, probably. But anyway, it's a beautiful landing and lots of nice parking. It's off South Diamond Lake Road, but it's got to be usable too. So that's. Third thing I have is in regards to that Bluestone development, and it's something other than what's on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Last Saturday, there was a huge party there with live band and loud music.
Magnus?
No,
No.
Bluestone.
Okay.
Paul has a report, because a report was made, and the officer was told by the people that were there that they rented the property for an event. Now, my question is, are they licensed to do that, or is that property set up to do that? So that's a concern, and the members on the lake, it sounded, I thought it was coming from Rogers, but it was way too close for that. But that's my concern, or what I want to bring up, is if that property is licensed to rent it out for events or whatever. So those are the three things I had, and I appreciate your help.
All right.
Thank
Come
you.
Thanks.
forward. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anthony Albright, 14101 Berkshire Lane North. I wanted to bring up to the council my hope that you would consider adopting the new Minnesota state flag to display in the council halls. The imagery on the old flag contains a reference to a formal policy of U.S. expansion into native lands to make room for settlers of European descent to farm. And that image makes me feel unwelcome in my community, as I am a descendant of natives, and specifically descendant of natives that were displaced from their land in Mississippi to make room for European settlers. I have no political interest. I've heard this is a political football, but I just would like to see the new state flag adopted for its advantage of not containing those images.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody online?
So if we have anyone that wanted to speak in open forum, please use the raise your hand function. I'm not seeing any.
All right, we will move on. Staff consultant council updates. Zach?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'm here to ask, July 5th is a Friday and a day after a holiday. This is typically a planned day to be open, but we have limited staff being able to be back here to run City Hall. I'm wondering if the council would be willing to say we're closed that day and everyone had to take 4 hour worth of vacation to cover that day since they're not going to be here. But I think it's an appropriate request. We only open for 4 hours, and my guess is the amount of traffic we're going to have in here is probably minimal.
Why are
on
we
a day
only
after
open
holiday.
for 4 hours?
It's Friday. July 5th is a Friday.
That's right.
So I'm requesting that we would close City Hall. But
Don't bother me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
As long as we.
yeah, we will post it and make sure everyone is aware. But like I said, a lot of businesses are, or at least government entities are closed on the 5th. But
Yeah.
wanted to come and formally ask. So thank you very much.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all I got.
Amy.
Thank you.
Absentee voting starts on Friday, so any Dayton resident that would like to come in and vote early, they are welcome to do so, starting on Friday, excluding the 2 days that we will be closed, the 4th and 5th.
Absentee voting for what?
For the primary election,
Primary.
yes.
Okay.
And that will start Friday, goes all the way up until the day before the primary election, and then on election day, you would go to your polling location.
For the primary, yeah.
Yeah. Is that it?
That's it?
Marty?
Mayor and Council, unusually, I have nothing to add to tonight's proceedings.
Are you feeling okay?
Gary?
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Just an update on hiring. We've advanced 4 candidates to the psychological exam, so we'll kind of see what happens with that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Evening, Mayor and members of the council. Officers are attending active shooter training tonight and Thursday night. It's being hosted at Rogers High School. They're coordinating with Elk River, Corcoran, us, and Rogers in case of any active shooters in the area. Rivers are high. It's been an active weekend, so anybody navigating the rivers, please use caution and always wear your safety vest.
John?
We have a new planner that started yesterday, so Hayden Stensrud, you'll see him at a future council meeting. I'm happy.
Nothing here.
Scott?
I got nothing.
Travis?
Doing my part to keep it short.
I got nothing.
No, I don't have anything to
All right, smoking. Item E.
Mayor and council, we are at that time of year. Come July 1st, we're looking to appoint the new planning commissioners and park commissioners. We have 2 that are up in planning and 2 that are up in parks. And so we did have 3 applicants for the planning commission and 1 applicant for the park commission.
Okay, and we have discovered since that we have to do this openly, right? We can't do.
We do, yes, we cannot
Yep.
do a secret ballot.
Okay, so I don't know how you guys want to do this. Well, first off, park.
Park is probably
sorry.
the easy one, just to.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. We got one
And
guy.
Doug didn't reapply?
No.
he didn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
And so I did send out an email to all 4, the same email, and he's the only one I didn't hear back from.
And Dave reapplied, so if we can knock that one out.
Perfect.
So,
Do you want to vote for that? Or
yeah.
I don't need it by a motion, I just need,
who you're selecting?
yep.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, I planning commissioners, I did look at the new applicant. I'm pretty happy with the current ones. I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
No, I agree. I'm content with
I think
2
we
that have
have a-
reapplied.
a pretty good mix at this point,
Mhm.
and I don't see a need to make that change.
I'll
with
forward
these
that.
2.
Okay.
There we go.
Current
Okay.
2?
And then what would you like to do with the open park position? So if you know someone, you can appoint them if they're obviously willing. Otherwise, we can try to advertise it again some more and see if we get any applicants. It just does put a little bit of pressure on our current park commission if we're running 1 shy.
We do
Yeah,
have what the month of what August, July. They don't have a meeting, but they do in
July,
August.
they already had their meeting yesterday.
rearranged it, so the next.
Is that what yesterday's was?
6, I think, something like that.
Okay.
So they have
I
a
would
whole
keep
month
it
if you can
open.
find somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to appoint them or apply.
Yeah, okay. So I'll re-advertise that and
Okay.
then the current will get reappointed.
okay. All right. Okay, item F, Dayton River Road Trail Extension.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a project you've seen before, just here for an update and a request for some guidance on how to move forward with the project. Just quickly, this is a trail extension to be completed as shown on the map. I see my labels are pointing into space, but the red line represents where the trail would be extended from the existing in Cloquet Overlook Park down to 142nd, which is the same intersection of North Diamond Lake Road at Dayton River Road. And again, just showing on the larger map with the existing yellow being sidewalks and solid cyan or purple being existing trails with the dashed being the future trails or planned trails. It's the section highlighted in red that we're referring to. So council was presented with some initial information back in February with a preliminary cost estimate, identification that we think there's sufficient right-of-way to existing to build the trail, identified a funding source that we could build it this year. Three Rivers said they were on board because it matched with their plans. Based on that information, council did authorize the design in February. Shortly after that time, Hennepin County alerted us to a project they were planning to reconstruct River Road, the entire length of this project, through the entire corridor and including the intersection of 142nd and North Diamond Lake Road. They did mention that with how extensive that project is, they would expect that any improvements completed at this time would be wiped out or at least at a minimum impacted or damaged as part of the project. And further mentioned that this trail could be constructed as part of their project as well, which would likely lead to some cost savings for the overall cost just because of the economy of scale in a larger project. But also if it is included with that project, the county would be in for 50% of the improvements just based on their cost sharing policy.
Is that consistent with the numbers we were given for the River Road? Okay. I don't mean the numbers we were given for this, I'm talking about the full trail. Okay, because I didn't realize they kicked in 50%.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, they do have a policy, and to be honest, I wasn't familiar with it. I looked it up, and it was
So
a
that
50%.
makes that last month's decision a little different, maybe.
It may,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was the reason for coming before you tonight, so.
Yeah, okay.
Again, the options were to proceed as planned, which is to construct the trail now, expecting it would have to be reconstructed with the project. We did look at reducing the scope to see, is there something cheaper we could do in there, so we relaxed a little bit of the design guidelines. We shrunk up the trail and left it an aggregate surface. We did look into that a little bit, and then we further minimized. We didn't put a design to it, but we figured if we kind of ignore drainage and we just had it, maybe it's only available for interim use and it won't meet ADA compliance, at least in some situations. Basically just what's the least we can do and get a physical connection between the 2 points. We evaluated that, and then of course the do nothing is the postpone the project, option 4 here. So this is the same information that was in your packet, but it's basically just this information tabulated just for an easier comparison, if you will. So the 4 options listed on the left, and then across the top on the table on the right. So the scope between the 2 projects, again, would we do as planned would be the 10-foot paved trail in accordance with Three Rivers standards, or the lesser 6-foot aggregate trail, or the minimum for a connection, or the do nothing options. And then the 2029 scope with the county project would be the same in any of those cases. It would be the 10-foot trail constructed. So just using our cost estimates available to us and the cost sharing expected, those are tabulated here. So the 2024 cost with the different options is shown. One thing I do want to mention on here is Three Rivers does not have money identified for the project at this time. So they were not committal to this amount. I shared this as what seems reasonable, just generally speaking. And if you look in other situations, they would spend less money with this than paying half of the trail costs in 2029. So it seems reasonable they would consider it, but I don't intend to speak for them, and nor have they committed to it. So that is an estimated number. Just wanted to point that out. But the 2024 costs and then the 2029 costs are the same across the board. Again, it's a 50-50 split between the county and Three Rivers Park District for the 10-foot paved trail with that project. Short of, to point out, I guess I skipped over the option 1 on this. If it is an existing 10-foot trail, the city is responsible to replace what was there, so it would be entirely their cost. So there is the county's cost.
Yeah.
The one I didn't understand was in column 3. Under the 2029 cost, the city's participation on that one is 0 also, but we're not, we're doing minimum for 600,000, but that gets us off out of the allocation for the whole project because we did something there?
Any of the 2024 improvements are expected to be wiped out, essentially.
I understand that part.
The 600.
Another piece of that, if we do nothing, we still have an obligation.
I think I can answer this
toward the
question.
half.
Yeah, Councilmember Fashion, the reason why in 2029 it's a 0 across the board for the city no matter what is because Three Rivers Park District has agreed to pay whatever 50% is that the county does not chip in. So our 50% will be covered by Three Rivers Park District to redo the trail, to do the trail portion. So
If there's one there.
So the trail portion will be put in no matter what
Whether
in
it's there or
2029,
not.
when it's there or not. It's just who's going to pay for it in 2029 when the project goes through. And Three Rivers Park District has agreed to pay our entire portion of the 50-50 split, which I mentioned in a weekly update. I don't even know, maybe a month or 2 ago, maybe. But that's why there's a cost in there for Three Rivers Park District and none for us in 29. But we have a cost at 24 because if we put anything in there right now, it's going to be gone in 2029. But we would not chip in at all in 2029 because Three Rivers Park District has agreed to cover our 50%.
So no matter what we do,
Construction.
2029, we don't.
We don't have to pay
We're
anything.
not obligated
Right.
on anything in 2029.
Why is it, how did that 6-foot aggregate, how'd that turn into 900 grand?
We took off, so the project cost at the 10-foot paved trail, we had at about 1.1 million. We took off the
Right.
material cost to narrow the trail 6 feet, and then we approximated the grading
I just-
benefit of that.
I thought
amount to
trails.
A lot of savings, though.
Yeah, that
not-
seems very
Right,
odd.
yeah. Seems like a lot.
It's not, because there's significant berms, there's quite a few large trees, there's a lot of grading,
Oh.
there's a culvert
So it's
crossing
not
that
just a trail, it's.
requires
you
a
gotta do
retaining
lot of
wall.
grading.
It's everything
Yeah.
involved kind of cost.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the culvert crossing, for example, essentially stays the same.
Okay.
Maybe it could be a foot lower or less high, if you will, but
Very
I'll be
unfortunate.
completely honest, I was surprised and I kept pushing our team for it. I wanted to show the minimum as a 500 and I got a lot of pushback. They said they don't think they can build anything for that, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the savings are largely in just clearing the path, if you will, to
When did
construct the
the
trail.
standard become 10 feet?
For Three Rivers.
That's Three Rivers Park.
So they,
For 3.
they have standards beyond
Every
ours.
2 years they bump it up 2 feet or what? I mean,
No, other trails
They've
are
always
10
had
feet.
10.
have they?
Yeah,
always
Three
been,
Rivers
yeah.
is always 10, and they have an extra inch of pavement, if I remember right. So
Oh, that place?
and they follow different standards for clear zones and safety.
It
and
just seems
and
like 10
whatnot.
feet's a lot of pavement, but, so, I think I went, it looked like to me, if we put it in, we're putting out like 400 or 500
We're
extra.
putting out the whole 1.1.
Yeah, so I mean, just
Oh, that's
this,
true, because Three Rivers is gonna cover
Right.
our,
Yeah.
yeah.
It makes sense to me to wait till 29, 21.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say no to.
Yeah, it's, a trail there would be
Right.
wondrous.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not-
Get the
really anxious
utility
for
for
us
the
to
4
build
years.
more trails, but there's over $1 million of
That's-
throwaway here.
that's a lot of-
I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's our money or the
Okay.
county's, it's somebody's money.
So is that,
Yeah.
That
It-
probably
it
makes
is.
sense.
Somebody got
Sounds
taxed, somebody got taxed for it. Yeah.
yeah,
You want to click back
that,
on the.
those
Makes
couple
sense to
tidbits.
postpone it.
Yeah, it seems like. Do you need a,
no, we just wanted to, I guess I did a
Sorry.
recommendation.
There you go. There you go. Go ahead.
Magic.
You're good. You're good. Go
Our
ahead.
recommendation to do is what you just decided.
Yeah.
Just a
And
consensus.
we just wanted to confirm that we should no longer work on the
Pursue,
project.
yeah.
So we
Yep.
will just postpone it and stop efforts
too
on
bad.
it, so there's no
That's
more money
unfortunate. I
expended
already
on it.
told a couple people I was gonna be there next year.
Well, sometimes you gotta eat them and you gotta
Yep.
love it, you know? That's
Okay.
part of it.
All right.
Okay.
That's still,
All right. It's a bummer.
Thanks. Item G. Brayburn Trails East.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so this is Resolution 33, 2024 for Brayburn Trails East Second Edition for the final plat. The preliminary was approved in 2022, so the whole project consists of 139 lots. So before you tonight is approval of the second edition, which is 62 lots. So this is generally along 117th Avenue, west of Fernbrook. And within the packet, we have, it's both the final plat as well as a development agreement.
Right? We got the, it's a final plat.
Right. I guess I have a couple of questions. In number 5 of the, I think it's the development agreement, it talks about authority for city staff to adjust fees and, here, I'll get on it here. The resolution provides city staff the ability to modify the letter of credit amounts, construction escrow, and fees based on construction bids and applicable credits from trunk improvements constructed by a developer as determined by city staff or city consultant. I always get a little bit concerned about what we're giving for credits, and so I'm just wondering what the, you know, what the limit is on, around this kind of decision by staff.
It is, I'm gonna look at Jason.
Credit against the trunk fees is for the construction of any infrastructure that is above and beyond what's required to support the development. So, for example, if the sewer is to be extended farther beyond the site and therefore needs to be maybe a larger diameter and or deeper in the ground, there's additional cost associated with that. Those are what's credited back, because again, they could build their site cheaper than that. We're doing that as a regional benefit. To be honest, on this site, their credits are very low. if I remember right, there's no sanitary sewer that's being oversized. They're connecting in the entire site to the Brayburn Trails
The
1,
existing
if you
one's
will.
already there, yeah.
To the west. There may be some oversizing of water main. I would have to confirm that. So there might be some costs associated with that. And then similarly, there was a little bit of storm sewer that was to benefit the 117th Avenue right-of-way. So there was some dollars with that. It basically comes down to a cost estimating exercise for us to determine what an appropriate cost might be. And
So
then
we
just-
don't know those costs at this point, is that
we,
why?
we have a good handle on it, and then we do confirm with the contractor bids. So we identify the work involved with those improvements, and then we work with the contractor bids to identify a specific number on it.
Okay. I'm not sure that made my concern go away, but I understand. There's also a fair amount of blank spots in the agreement, both of them. And is that because we don't have those numbers yet?
Correct.
Not thrilled about signing blank pieces of paper?
Yep.
Just a thing.
Neither are we. Councilmember Fashion, I agree with your points. I understand that. I think we're at, hopefully you have enough trust in staff that we're providing the right information back to you. We will obviously provide the full completed DA. It's not, again, trying to hide things. It's just more or less trying to keep business moving. If something substantially changes, as in it's above the threshold that I feel is even appropriate for us to be approving, it will come back to council as an approval item. Because if I'll use an example, if we're going to give $150,000 worth of credits on something, the council needs to be weigh in on that thing. If it's 25 grand, I'll probably just say, okay, we're going to waste 25 grand because of X, Y, Z items. But
That's even kind of covered by our
correct.
ordinance, I mean, our overall
Spending policy,
ordinance,
yeah, correct. Yeah. So like I said, it's not like we're trying to keep the process moving forward as fast as best we can with developments. But if it's something that's not reasonable for me to be able to approve as in city staff, it will come back to council for reapproval. If that gives you any more assurance to what you're asking, because I understand where your point is at. So.
I'm kind of okay with that, but in the future, it would just speed up the developer to get his ducks in a row.
Yeah, we tried.
Not?
Yep.
Well, we don't care personally, I don't care if it takes him 2 years. I mean,
I get it.
if he doesn't want to get it going, let him sit.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I guess in the sense, like, what's the worst thing that could happen if that were the situation? Like, if you made
We
the
do-
developer sit, I mean.
So we do have a 60-day rule.
I was going to
Right.
say, yeah.
So we need to take action within 60 days.
Right.
So if no action is taken, it just gets approved.
Okay.
So that's a built-in plan to stall it off.
Well, if they don't provide us with information, we could always deny it based on that, as long as we had something.
Yeah, you can deny it.
Right.
Yeah, as long as we had.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
If you want to have some threshold that you want to use as a caveat, that's
I wouldn't
whatever
know
you
where
want
to
to do.
start with a threshold.
I'd be fine with
Yeah.
whatever you're authorized to.
Yeah, so 25,000 is all I'm authorized to. That's it.
Everything else has
I
got to
think
come to us, right?
that's reasonable. I understand the numbers are a little fuzzy until you have bids, and so there needs to be some room for adjustment in there. To the extent we can going forward, I'd like to see as few blanks on these things as possible. Some of them are just dates, as an estimate of when, something around the final wear course on the pavement, and then there's no date that it needs to be done by. So that to me, I think, could have been in there. Pick one.
Sure.
If it's wrong, you can renegotiate or something, but
Let's say just
there
come
are
before
things
as an
that could have
amendment,
been-
right, then?
Could be done.
If what?
I
Sorry.
said if it goes like that and they have to come back for us, it just, as an amendment, if they put like some wrong information on the.
Yeah, so if it's substantially the same as what it is now, we would not bring it back to council. If it substantially changes and the substantials work gets kind of, hairy, but the idea is that if they ask for 2029, we're not going to say, yeah, that sounds great. We'll bring it back to council and say, we recommend not having that approved, so. Or revoke that approval of that DA if that's what they come back with.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else?
No.
You good? Okay, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
A second.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Resolution passes 4-0. Item H.
Item H is approval of Brayburn,
You got it.
oh, there you just started it, might as well keep going.
You got it.
Approval of Brayburn Trails East Encroachment Agreement. Oh, my name's even on it. So this is for the same project. When this was approved, or when the preliminary plat was approved, the project dedicated, I believe it was 5 feet extra of right-of-way. That kind of shifted everything into where the portions of the project were encroaching within the right-of-way. And when I mean portions, I'm really talking more about landscape improvements. So we have a legal agreement that would allow, I believe it's just landscaping that would encroach within the right-of-way. So we're just asking for approval for this agreement.
In Mayor and Council, in that agreement, it would say that if the road needs to be expanded that way to use that 5 feet of right-of-way, they would be required to move the landscaping, whether it's with them or with the HOA.
What is this landscaping?
So we're talking trees, bushes,
Yeah,
a mound
okay.
of mulch. Nothing permanent in nature. I mean, I guess you'd call a tree permanent,
Irrigation.
but irrigation, yeah.
So that's like irrigation or
Irrigation,
something.
retaining wall, any
Yep.
kind of.
Alright.
Nothing of permanent nature, so no retaining walls, no stone, nothing like that.
I'll make
Alright.
a motion.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 4-0. Item I.
This is approval of Resolution 34, 2024 for Sundance Greens 11th edition for the final plat and the development agreement. So Sundance Greens, the preliminary plat was approved in 2018. This is 663 units. Of that 663, 100 units were for, I believe it was a senior, or intended to be a senior apartment building. For before you tonight is the 11th edition, which includes 31 lots. So this is more, I'm going to say, more on the western end. Sundance Greens overall is a very large project. So again, this is 31 lots, all single-family homes.
All right. Any questions? It's a final plat.
Yeah, I have some of the same concerns I expressed on the other one, but one that should be fixed here on page 148. I think we've got the wrong developer name.
Ooh.
A few spelling things in there too.
Sure.
Final page of them.
It says Twin City Land
Oh,
Development.
I see. Okay, yep, I apologize for that.
Right.
Good catch.
Need a motion and a second.
No.
Need a motion and a second.
I'll motion with the changes.
I'll second.
Dave can have it.
Give it to Dave.
Make him feel like he's earning his.
Any more comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 4-0. That was item I. Item J.
Item J is approval of Resolution 32, 2024. So this is an interim use permit for, to exceed one animal unit of ducks located at 13145 Granstrom Circle. So the applicant is applying for, originally applied for an IUP to allow for 9 poultry. So poultry, in our code, 3 poultry equals 1 animal head. So depending on the type of, there's kind of a little bit of math involved. So 1 horse would be an animal unit, 3 poultry would be an animal unit. So on smaller lots. So again, the code allows for 3 poultry. The applicant had asked for 9. The Planning Commission had recommended 6, which the applicant had expressed that they're okay with 6. The critical issues for this is screening. This came from a recommendation from the Planning Commission that they had recommended screening along the fence line. Screening typically within our city code is either a 6-foot tall privacy fence or 6-foot tall trees. So the applicant has planted trees. They're fairly small. They're fast growing. So one of the questions for the council, assuming if you're okay with an interim use permit, is are the existing trees there acceptable as screening, knowing that they're going to grow?
My answer is yes.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say they've invested a lot of time and energy into that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I need a motion.
Question though, are we gonna go with the 9 or the 6? The only reason I'm saying this, and this is coming from a guy that's got
Animals.
18 elk, 18 deer, 100 pheasants. We've got a neighbor that would prefer it to stay at 6.
Yeah.
The applicant's okay with 6. So I would make the motion to accept 6.
Personally, 6 or 9 to me is.
Yeah, I agree, but
the
there's a neighbor that,
I hear you, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Good evening.
Hi. I would prefer 9, but the planning commission recommended 6.
Yep.
I don't want to upset my neighbors, but at the same time, it would be really nice to just have some wiggle room because, if our chicken dies, then, it's
you
going to
can
be
come down and get one.
Yeah. I'll get one from you, right? But yeah, we planted those trees. They grow 3 feet per year. And so by 2 years, they'll be 6 foot tall.
Can I ask what kind of trees they are?
They're American pillar arborvitae.
Okay.
They're really nice.
Okay.
They're beautiful trees, yeah.
And the Blackwell.
I also want to say that I really appreciate you guys allowing us, 6. That's gracious. 9 has to do with the ability, the flexibility to manage more if we find it truly manageable, and that also then has to do with more so just the upfront investment we've put into it. The run coop we've added to this. We've even added to this on some of these pictures.
Sure.
And so we've put quite a bit of effort and money into it. And so if we can get 9, great. If it's 6, we respect it fully, and we also appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel like we have all our ducks in a row.
Literally.
No pun intended.
Okay. So you made a motion.
You've been
for
waiting
6?
all day to say that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, we got a motion.
What was the motion? Sorry, what was the motion for?
I made a motion for 6.
Motion for 6, okay?
And that was Granstrom Circle. Need a second? I'll second it. Any more discussion?
I would have preferred 9.
You would have preferred 9?
Yeah. I don't see the need for that limit.
For what?
For the 6 limit.
6, 9, either.
Can you?
I tend to agree. I mean,
Can you walk through the 9 versus 6? You could just reapply
Yeah, well,
if this goes well.
Part of the issue of reapplication is there are fees involved with that, and we've already put a ton of money into these arborvitae, the landscaping,
Yep.
the more than generous run, which is considerable in scope. And so, it has to do with that. Now, I will say that our plan, as far as taking on poultry in our yard, we only want 2 for right now. And
2 ducks?
Yeah, just 2 ducks. So we have 2 ducks and a chicken right now.
I would
To
recommend
start
no
with.
ducks, but that's me.
Yeah, well, we're picking them that are particularly quiet, and we've done research on the manageability of what are more
Yeah, that's fine.
field-oriented
It's just
ducks.
a personal
And,
thing.
yeah.
I just, they're pigs.
Sure.
Ducks. Okay.
And so, it really just.
So how does the 9 help you over 6? Because I
More eggs.
Okay.
We eat our own eggs. There was some concern with noise with the neighbors. However, when you actually, I invite any of you guys to our house, you don't really hear them. The dogs are more noisy in our neighborhood than our ducks. And then also, there was some concern with manure management. The thing is, though, we need the manure for our garden, so we use it all on our apple trees. We have espalier trees. If you look at that picture right there, it's,
That little one that's
that
kinda in
tree
the
looks
corner?
very strange, right?
Yeah.
That's a Honeycrisp, Zestra
Sure.
apple, Sweet 16 hat-trick tree. We use all of our manure for fertilizing our fruits and vegetables.
I have no problem with the 9.
Okay.
I
Well,
feel like
I want
they're.
to assure you guys,
yeah.
we plan on taking them 2 at a time. We don't
Yeah.
want more work or nonsense than what is necessary, so we have children. We want to start and just go 2 at a time. Okay, let's see what 2 more is like. Oh, we like
Yeah.
this, it's very manageable. Okay, now we might proceed. We're not really.
We're not
looking-
gonna go full 9.
No,
That's
not-
for
not
sure.
right
If we
away.
find that 2 more is too much, we're done.
It's
I mean,
out of
I don't
respect
wanna
for our
be
neighbors
cleaning
also. I mean,
all day
we're-
long
I hear
either,
you.
so,
We're
yeah.
receptive and respectful to the concerns of the community as well, and we want to make sure that we do it 2 at a time in order to, make sure that this is manageable for all the folks around us as well as ourselves.
I'll tell you where, and I'm the wrong guy to ask, because if 1 is good, 10 is better. Let's do it, we'll go with the 9, with the caveat that if you get a neighbor complaint, we go back down to 6.
Absolutely.
We'll have to eat some of them then, huh?
Whatever.
Okay, we will.
Oh, you'll,
So,
they'll drop off.
I'll make you some roast duck. for the
So
sake
sooner or
of-
later with livestock, it's dead
Well, we
stock.
can amend
the motion.
Yeah, we can amend the motion
So Scott,
I'll
amend
amend it.
the motion. Okay.
to 9.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if there's a complaint, then you'll handle the complaint, I'm sure, or Amy will.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna call
So
somebody.
Mayor, you had a motion and a second on the floor. Do you want to take a vote on that? So you
Well,
can-
if he's
unless
gonna
you wanna
amend his
amend.
motion,
Okay,
I think we're
okay,
good.
okay.
And I don't-
Just want to make sure I'm
I
clear
don't
with
think
the record.
anybody's
so-
gonna track
I
us
was
down
asking
on
the
this one.
same question.
But,
so.
yeah, I guess I'll second the amendment.
Okay.
The amended motion. So that would mean, we're talking about 3 units or 9 animals.
3 units for 9 animals, and also for item 4 with the 6-foot screen, I guess my suggestion is just remove that out. Being that the trees are already planted and
Oh, sure.
you're fine with
Oh, I see.
having less than 6-foot tall trees.
Yeah.
I just gonna go rip them
They'll
out
be-
after we
they'll
do
be
this,
6
right?
foot in less than 2 years.
I was
so-
gonna say, my name is, then,
So
okay.
striking that requirement.
We can strike the.
Yes.
strike
And just
the-
for clarity, enforcing the 3 versus 2. The only way I can enforce the IEP is to bring it back to you to change or amend the ordinance. So,
Yep,
I can't.
we would have to pull the IUP.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep. I get that.
Yep.
I can't tell them to get rid of 3 ducks.
Right. Right. Okay, so we got a motion for 9 or 3 units and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Keep
appreciate
in
your
mind, I
time.
don't want any ducks.
Thank you all.
No doubts.
We'll take them for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. On to item K.
I know our applicant for item K is not here. I guess I would request that we push that off.
And we are an hour ahead of schedule.
That's
To be
good.
fair, he was here earlier and asked me about the timing. I said I'm usually pretty accurate. I didn't expect to be this far. ahead
Well,
of
we were-
schedule.
Okay, well, then I guess we can move.
I don't think the applicant's here for
Is
the next
the
item.
applicant for the Schany parcel here?
Nope.
No.
No.
How about DCM
DCM.
Farms? Hey,
Yes.
why don't we bump? All right,
Okay.
let's.
Got anybody else with you?
Has anybody got a problem with that? Moving K and L after M?
No, I don't.
Okay,
Yeah, let's say we'll move K and L till when the applicants are here, because I don't know if we'll have to go through M and then.
okay, yeah, you're right. Then we'd be screwing around again.
Yep, yep.
Okay, item M.
We're going to be
DCM
out here
Farms.
before 10 o'clock. Okay, item M is concept plan for DCM Farms. For anyone that's curious, DCM is Dean's Country Manor. I had to ask that, so.
I figured that out, yeah.
The applicant is Sundance Woods LLC. Approvals that this project will need is either an environmental statement or an environmental assessment worksheet, depending on the number of lots in the preliminary plat. A comprehensive plan amendment, a zoning map amendment, plan unit development, and then preliminary and final plat. So and I skipped over kind of where is this project. So the project consists of, I believe it's 90 acres, and it's generally at the, I'm going to call it the intersection of Fernbrook, 117th on the north side, and then 113th on the south side. And as anyone can tell, this is Sundance Golf Course. Critical issues for this is Fernbrook Lane as regards to traffic, environmental studies, the mix of housing types, a mix of commercial and retail, and as well as creating a sense of place for the neighborhood. The map that's shown at the left is potential improvements to Fernbrook that staff has identified. So this is, we're showing as 3 potential roundabouts at Rush Creek Parkway, 114th, and then 117th.
Where'd those come from, John? The
I'm sorry?
roundabouts?
Roundabouts, yes.
I mean, are you just kind of tossing them up there? Are they?
We're tossing it out there. So,
Okay.
previous projects, the council has discussed a roundabout at Rush Creek Parkway and Elm Creek Road. With this project, there is a roundabout that's proposed at 114th. It's proposed at 113th would be reconfigured to meet with 114th. So this is roughly halfway between the 2 major intersections. And then 117th, we're still kind of discussing the potential of a roundabout there. So one of the topics that came up during public meetings is the discussion that people are driving fast along Fernbrook. So it's not just the number of cars.
It's how fast those cars are going.
It's how
too.
fast they're going. So roundabouts would slow that traffic down.
Yeah.
Planning Commission comments. So with the concept plan, there is no formal approval or denial. The council members are asked to provide individual comments. You can have one council member that says one thing, another council member that says the total opposite. So the summary of comments that came from the Planning Commission was to address Fernbrook, so both the traffic, the number of lanes, to buffer the existing homes. There's 6 existing homes along Fernbrook. It's a little hard to see right here. As well as the commission liked the mixture of housing types, so what's being proposed is a combination of single-family homes, detached townhomes, and attached townhomes. So detached townhomes is being villas, attached townhomes similar to what's in the picture, so kind of a combination of 4-plexes, 6-plexes, and 8-plexes. The developer did submit, I'm going to call it 3 different options with a couple of different options in certain parts of the, call it the thumbs, of the very north corner. One of those options did include a apartment building. So overall, the number of total units varies between, and just generally staying between 200 and 400 units, depending on the product type. For Park Commission comments, the Commission had recommended that there be a continuous trail along the utility corridor, so that's along the western border of the property, for both a pedestrian trail as well as a snowmobile trail. And then comments of making sure that there's a connection between, this is the Area 21 Park, and that connecting somehow to Elm Creek Park down here. Okay. So these next slides are the different options, and so, and Tom can probably describe this better than what I can as far as the differences between option 1, 2, and 3. I'll add that on the dais, the council members do have paper copies of each one.
How's everybody? So, option 1, option 1 and 2 deal with this, let's call it the southern 70 acres, or everything that's adjacent to 113th Avenue currently. And so they're really all the same, except, well, the base is the same except on the easterly side right here. These are single family, 65-foot wide lots. And then option 2 just showed townhomes.
Yep.
And if, I think, some of you council members were at the planning commission. Since that, we did have a meeting with the neighbors to, on the west side of Fernbrook or east of our project there, those 6 homeowners.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've known a fair amount for a long time. And so I think, you know, I think we had a really good discussion. John and Zach were there, you know, and I think the idea of, you know, I'm like, look, we're going to make sure engineering is there. We're not going to have drainage issues. You know, we're going to probably solve your drainage issues, you know. Back when I farmed with my dad, I mean, the field, everything's higher than those lots, right? It's just how even my dad and my uncle buying the farm, it was like that was developed. So I think we went through and assured them that we'd take care of the development. The one thing that I would really like to do is just now consider option 1. The homeowners did ask to say, hey, we prefer single family houses that back up to ours, you know, not a townhome. And so, you know, we agreed to that.
Is 1 the only one that does that?
1 is the only one that does that. 2.5 townhomes, but that was the difference.
Okay.
And I think there's some other, you know, there was some mention of notes from trails and all that. And I want to be clear, this is kind of a basic concept, right? Instead of coming in with 1, we'd have trails. You know, I'm good with already had planned on the power line. You know, there's probably a trail that needs to run on that far eastern edge, and then somewhere get to the park, right? Yeah. So I think the owners, you know, we're worried about drainage, the ability to, you know, have sewer down the road. You know, I don't think any of them are failing now, but to know they'd have some of that ability.
Availability.
Availability, yep.
Okay.
And I think it'd be short-sighted if we didn't figure that, you know. Yeah. And then the one request is that there was a trail that would run on the rear of our easterly project between their westerly side. They'd like to be able to get quick access to a trail. So they wouldn't have, you know, currently they'd have to get on Fernbrook or on a road, and you know, there needs to be a trail run on the perimeter. So I'm okay with including that in a future trail plan. So, but I think, you know, just kind of from Unique, just getting some discussion. I would say, although we agreed to there are a couple other items, right? One being in the center right here, which would be on option 1 or 2. These lots here in that area I'm proposing of 45 foot, and I think, you know, in John's presentation, it had some narrower lots. I mean, it's zoned currently for townhomes, and we could come back and put townhomes like that are across the street.
You're talking about like villas or?
I'm talking single family, some 2-story single, yeah.
So
But now
you had a picture in the packet of row houses similar to what's on Hemlock and Maple Grove?
Yes, I don't have that in the PowerPoint, but yes, that'd be the example, so I think that was.
So where I would tell you an example is if you just went into the Sundance Greens off the Rush Creek Parkway, and when we had that south west corner, instead of going through the woods, I came in and I had asked the council, I said, hey, if I could keep the same density, I would leave the woods. We wouldn't go in, but we have some 50-foot wide lots. So if you look, there's quads right along the road, but if you went in to the south of the parkway there, those are all single-family lots. Most of them are 2-story. I don't know, it could be, they may all be 2-story. But, you know, they're all painted, they're a different color roof, a different, you know, different color siding. As soon as they say that, they'll be matching roofs, but, you know, so just to give, to break it up a little bit, but I do think it is to a point of having something that's more affordable, you know, and it's either a townhome project or a product, or it would be, you know, with the city look. And I could, I could bring architecture in from some other cities, do that, but I thought before we even waste a lot of time in discussion, is that topic even of any interest to
45.
discuss? Yeah.
So this is, I think you mentioned this at the planning commission, this is kind of a concept? So you'll
Concept.
probably come forward with another
Yep.
concept?
I will be back with another concept,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's
And
fine.
I know and we have the commercial aspect, you know, the roundabout, I put in there, I haven't talked to the county. If I went up to Rush Creek Parkway, I think the county changed it probably 5 times by the time we were done, because you needed Park District
Acquisition
opinion
or something.
and
Yeah.
basically what the Park District said, the county just said, okay, we'll do it. And we got really no say. But I do think, you know, there's ability to slow some traffic down, you know, there. And hopefully you know, they have the one on Pine View, put the other one down in Maple Grove. It'd be acceptable, but, you know, so I think out of this, it's kind of a standard project. It's made up of some 55 villas, you know, detached, which not necessarily all retirement homes, but they probably more patio homes. And then single families, but it's at 45s in the middle, and then, you know, just the commercial. So when we developed Sundance Greens the first time, maybe go back to that last one. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, this one
Okay.
here. So if you look, this part here is part of the Sundance Greens development. And we had first proposed, I think that would have been phase 1, townhomes there. And the city asked that time, you know, could there ever be a need for commercial? And so we've just not built it,
Put
right?
anything on that side,
Yeah. And so I think with that and curving the road, you know, I think, you know, I've lived in the city, everybody and a lot of people are looking for something maybe different than Rain Tree. And there's the neighbors there, so I think it's just a discussion, you know, I want to get, you know, your opinions, the staff's opinions, and I think, you know, staff and planning commission has had a few things, but those would be what I would see of, you know, maybe the 45s and the commercial is something that hasn't maybe been to the city, you know, in a residential development before.
Well, we had some discussions, at least going, when we had some property and land use discussions, though I have in various commercial, little blobs of commercial in various spots.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, like you say, Rain Tree, you know, is sitting there, but it'd be nice to scatter some around some other areas.
And I guess one other note, seeing the picture at the barn at the top, I had some discussions at the beginning thinking, could we leave, you know, that barn it looks way better and it's rotted out, so that's no good, but we have a couple of the large pole buildings, could have those been converted, you know, have a wedding hall or something, but by the time you look and you gotta meet code, sprinkler system, I mean, they're 40-year-old pole buildings, right? It's just,
The shells.
you're tearing it down starting from
Point,
scratch,
right?
you know, why put it in a center, but I think if you looked back to the commercial piece, you know, I don't know, is there, you know, a banquet room that would add on to the restaurant? Is it, you know, I had proposed, we just kind of threw some items there, so, you know, but it seemed like, you know, a gas station and you know, something that has more of a you know, grocery aspect too, you know, you need to pick up some quick groceries. And then, is it another little restaurant? Is it strip? Is it a daycare? And so I think somewhere in the notes it said about, it said, I believe 13 acres. I think we're really looking more about 10.9. You know, if you take a golf court or a golf
cart,
where did that come? You can access everything with a golf cart to the neighborhood here. So, you know, if you look at the bottom piece, you know, maybe the fronts of the roads are to the outside and all the parking and everything is in the middle. I don't expect a lot of buildings, because if you just took the space, say a gas station is 2 acres, you know, I've looked at some, a daycare, 1.5 acres, add, you know, probably 2 acres of pond. that uses half of it up right there, you know? And then definitely it would be some expansion for the restaurant. That sits on a small spot, you know? So, I mean, is
It would
it a-
expand, do you think?
I think even the current parking lot, once if it stayed there, some of it would have to, they're short of parking.
Yeah.
We'd have to move some of that to include. I think that spot was, I don't, hold me to an acre and a half, and was from like 1958 when they just bought it. So I think, you know, a gas station, I thought, good idea and convenience. I thought a daycare was. You know, is it, I think now hearing from a lot of the staff, is it a more, you know, it's not a McDonald's going in there, it's a little mall with local buildings and you know, like a McDonald's wasn't on my plan.
Yeah,
You know, but I'm just saying something,
And the population.
yeah, more home,
It
you
would
know what I
support-
mean? Yeah.
It would support the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
nail
so-
shop,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, if somebody has a salon, whatever, so.
I think about the only thing I'd have to say about that is I like the idea of a commercial there. I would want to somehow make sure that, you know, we weren't somehow setting up parking lots so that there were flashing lights across the,
Yep, and I could see, I know
Just
the
the neighbor
Grovers
stuff.
were here the last time and
Yeah.
spoke, and even the new homes, right, probably anyone. And like I said, if it's something that, you know, you don't think I'm way out there on it, then I'd come back and I would do some really better design. I mean, we really just, instead of wasting a lot of time and coming in and saying, hey, this is the plan I want to go, I just thought, hey, we have time, let's have some discussion.
what kind of homes does getting back to the 45 width?
Section in the middle.
What are those townhome-ish or what are they?
No, they would be, you know, owned, not, you know, part of the HOA, but, you know, that's like the master, but how those other homes work, they're responsible for shoveling their snow, taking care of their grass, you know.
But what kind of a home fits in there, I guess?
So, and that's what I'm saying, if you look, they're about a 2,000 square foot, two-story, you know.
And is that are those the ones that are similar to like on Hemlock and Maple Grove?
And some, I'm not sure of those, to be honest. No, I'll take a look here.
I could take a look quick and see.
But
I'll get
I
back.
know if we went off of
Yep,
Rush
there's a
Creek-
picture on there.
But if we went south of the Parkway, so if, you know, where
It's not on
Rush
that.
Creek Parkway comes in, that,
I know what you're talking
yeah, I don't know if the whole
I don't
big
know if I
map
have a map.
shows it.
Would be something like that you would see on
Yeah, so right
Sunfish.
where he is the point, not there, those are larger, but if you move over to your right with the pointer,
Down here.
and in that whole center swath there, those are all 50-foot wide lots. And they're on the 7.5 setback.
A question pertaining to, would this be R1, R2, or R3?
Well, I would say R3 proposing, but I don't know what the R, you know.
R3 with the PUD,
Yeah.
so you'd be
I think
going.
the commercial would require PUD and, you know, maybe, I'm not sure who brought it up. I don't know about internally, but, you know, maybe along the Parkway, you know, I don't know, I'd have to look maybe, or not the Parkway, 114th coming in. Maybe those are some fronts of the houses and the garages are in the back. I don't know, but I still do think when it's that single family, some of those yards get deep there, we have room, and it'd be nice for, if they have, you know, I'm assuming some of these will have young families, because they're just more affordable. You know?
I want to make sure that council knows, so the question that Councilmember Fashion had mentioned about what the Hemlock Lane picture was in the packet, those are 28-foot wide lots. So the picture that you saw in Hemlock Lane in the packet, they're taller, they're right basically on Zachary or Hemlock Lane essentially in Maple Grove, that are taller, 2-story or 3-story, those are 28-foot wide lots.
But the setback is like 0, right? Or
Essentially, about 1.5 feet maybe?
I think, and I'm not exactly sure, I do know some of the builders, instead of the townhomes, are coming in and they're asking for a 28-foot wide house with 5 foot in between. It's not even grass, it's just all landscaped.
That's essentially what that is.
Yeah, is that what
Like
that
a
is?
keyboard or a roll
Essentially,
type
yep.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
I personally am not a fan of the 45-foot lot. I mean, this whole development averages out at 57 feet for the frontage. So does make that. To me, I thought we had a caveat that it didn't need to be 62 on R1.
R3. Yeah, average is 62.
This is a
And I think that's
Average
where
is
we,
62 on an R3.
Yeah, but this would be plain unit development.
this
so this would be a
PUD.
PUD, so yeah, I think
so-
that's,
I personally won't go there.
Yeah, so I guess, I've talked to enough people in the build homes that, I don't know, my stance is I'd like to see us get a big mix. But that includes a big mix. But people that move into villas love them.
yep. They're filling it in, and so we do have that villa mix, you know, in Sundance Greens currently.
Well, I bring that up because the setbacks are, in those villas in
River Hills
are, I gotta believe they're 5 feet.
They're 5, yep, and if you were to look in what Lennar has in the center, those villas, those are 7.5 each. I mean, at 5 feet, you know, I think on a villa when you know, somebody's maintaining the yard, nobody's even there, I would be in favor of that, but I thought maybe, you know, stick in at the 7.5. I think where I was just going on the 45s, it would give an option to, instead of having both sides of the road and townhomes, you know, but the villas, I think I brought MI homes in now. They're doing the phase of the golf course and the 11th edition here, a portion of those lots. So the rear lots are big multi-million-dollar houses, but getting to there, they have the villas, and they're, you know, that one, pretty nice villa project, you know, I think. And so I do agree with you. It'd be villa, single family, and then I think just to have a little bit other product mix would be, that's where I guess I'm getting input, you know, and if Adam
Yeah.
don't want to do it, then, you know, that's
So to
why we're
echo
here.
what Dennis was saying, I would like to see variety in there.
And I think if you looked at, like on the other side of Sundance Greens, I'd be happy to tour anybody and look at the 50-foot wide ones, anyhow, that are there. I bet you if you drove through, if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't have maybe knew. I mean, you can see they're smaller, don't get me wrong, but I think and I would keep all the LP architecture, four-sided, you know, we're able to get a better color mix, and things like that.
All
So
4 sides of LP.
4 sides, yeah. So if Sundance Greens and even the
How do you keep them
townhomes, yeah, no, it's a lot more, but I think at the end of the day, you know, it's kind of one of the things for me as developing. And as much as I said, build houses with vinyl. I lived in a house with just a front, you know, but
Yeah.
just trying to do a little something, you know, nicer to it. And then, but I think that's the question from affordability versus, you know, if you filled the other side up just with the row homes, right, they would, maybe that would look too much driving in between on each side of the road, you know, so.
Anybody have questions? I have a bunch, but.
And that's on this side. I guess, you know, there's some, if we go up to option 3, 4, 5, you know, so 3, all I'm doing is really this one. I'm not proposing, really. I just wanted to show it. I'm just asking for you guys up here as the city grows and looks in the future, there is probably a spot somewhere in the city that would, apartments. Is it out in the middle where everything's not developed? I don't know. But asking just on your planning. I do know the residents on Fernbrook were definitely, you know, not happy about that. And I don't even have, like I said at the planning commission, I don't have anyone interested in it. But I thought, hey, these are different options. I would probably propose, you know, either a version of a townhome or being we're running up that street with 65-foot wide homes. I think it's option 5, John. I guess option 4 is the middle one.
Townhomes.
All right. Well, neither of them are coming up, but there's another Try the next one.
I think you have the wrong one in there, John.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to get-
Anyhow, there was one in there that had 65-foot wide lots all through that.
Oh, okay.
You know.
This one here,
That
Tom?
might be number 5.
Yeah.
I think that's number,
Yeah.
I believe it's
Yeah.
number 5, it's
Yeah.
option 5.
Yeah, that's what I looked at.
Yep.
So, I mean, could there be a version if you talked about the hemlock and you wanted a variety? I mean, certainly could be open for discussion. But,
On the commercial, can a guy restrict on who you'll allow in there?
By
Owner
zone,
could.
what, and-
We-
Yeah, the owner could.
We cannot.
yeah.
And some of them aren't allowed by
Correct.
right, but,
Yeah.
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 In order for you to, which was mentioned at the planning commission, you probably make architectural standards for that area, so that at least if it is something that you may not like in a commercial district, at least it looks correct in the area, and it
Yeah.
doesn't stick out. I'll use McDonald's as an example. If McDonald's goes in, it wouldn't be, golden arches and a red roof. It's gonna be something that looks something like a barn or something, whatever you guys
Fits
pick.
into the
That would fit it in the neighborhood and
Okay.
not be something that's, way in left field that looks crazy.
Sure.
That would be your architectural
The
standards.
gas station wasn't a fan of everybody on
Yeah.
Fernwood, but
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit worried about maybe traffic, and there's a couple smaller guys that I haven't really talked to, I wouldn't want to say, because they might, but I'd like to reach out to, that isn't, definitely not a holiday. And I know, I just used Quick Trip because it's a big company, but I mean, personally, I think if we all walk into a Quick Trip versus an SA, they have a lot more to offer, right? So I wouldn't propose it. And if we could get maybe one of the smaller little, niche guys would be nicer yet.
More convenience store type is what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, I think for the commercial part, I think that's the right track. I'm a little bit nervous about the gas station because of the light and the sort of the 24-hour-a-day kind of operation, but, I guess the theme for me would be that these are businesses that, sort of serve those neighborhoods that are in that vicinity. I mean, you got Target and Home Depot 10 minutes away or less, so
the other
it
caveat
can't be
to
that
me
kind of
is
stuff.
eventually, a market there is gonna happen long before the city center ever does. And a market here would take away from the city center at some point, but I don't believe that city center is gonna be here in 20 years myself.
Well, and I think if you look, somebody mentioned go down 129th. Well, you don't have the sewer, right? You gotta have the pipe to drive that.
Right.
But I think if you go in Maple Grove, there are different other smaller,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pick them neighborhoods, even Champlin. And so that's where I would, it's not massive, and really after this, you're not gonna be able to add on to it, I don't know what the city's vision of city center is, but I'm assuming it's something more like downtown Maple Grove.
Downtown, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We won't be here by then.
Okay.
I'm a fan of staying closer to the 62-foot lots.
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking about it a little bit differently.
I'm not a fan of apartments at all.
No, I would have a hard time getting on board with that also, but the idea of, I drive that road on Hemlock, I don't know, once in a while when I go to Costco, I guess. But where those row houses are, I think that makes kind of a neat sort of a neighborhood feel to it, more of a walking kind of a neighborhood. And I could see that kind of thing, where you're showing the smaller spaces and the higher density, as long as there's some offset to it with bigger lots, meaning half acre or better. So there is some variety there, more variety, I guess, than what we have typically.
And I think
seen.
if you look at currently Sundance, what we have on the south side there in Sundance Greens, I mean, really run, even currently now today, $370,000 homes to some of those back in the golf course now are, $1.5 million. And it will roll, this road will end up connecting through to what would really be our last phase of Sundance Greens on the northeast corner, so. And it would be, the other things that this would have is, you know, it would get those other 2 sections for the city park getting built there, so.
And my other comment is around, I feel good that you've reached out to the neighbors that live on Fernbrook. There, those 6 houses. You know, we have many examples of where we sort of orphaned existing homes with the new neighborhood, and then those houses look like they don't belong there. And so I think it's really important that we try to incorporate what we can to make this look like this is a cohesive area. It's one neighborhood, and I liked your idea about the trail on the backside there, and whatever else we can do to make it look like it does, you know, that it just doesn't stand out like a sore thumb.
And I did think one other item, just said, hey, I would throw easement off the parkway, that if down the road it meant for them to have an alley in the back. I mean, all their garages they sit off to the side of the house, right? So it's not like a garage in front of the house. I know there's a cost and things like that, but if there's sewer, they don't have a septic in the way, and I'm like, I'm not forcing anybody to do anything, but we'll leave you these options, and you know, if the county were to take their house, that's a different story. But say if it doesn't, now they're not, you know, hamstringed into. They could be able to enter. It'd only be those 6 houses, and they wouldn't have to be on Fernbrook. So.
Well, and if the county does come in, they may take enough right away where they don't take the house, but
yep.
They don't.
Right, yeah, you got nothing. You can't park a car in your driveway, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know they're very. You know, I don't have a lot of experience with the county, but they're very difficult on the. You know, when we worked on that intersection up on the top. So, I mean, I proposed like, you know, first the tunnel for the bike trail. That was nothing. Then like, hey, can we have flashing lights for a bike? And it just like, no.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And at this stage, we don't even know about the roundabout.
I mean, so yeah, that's probably clear. I'm proposing it. You know, I don't know if the county. But it seems like that's more common now that, right? It would be, so that would be, I guess, a discussion if they did, you know, so.
Well, I think ultimately that's our best weapon for slowing down the traffic on that road.
Yep.
If we can talk them into it.
And do you have all whatever right away you need for that, or?
So it might have, not necessarily.
Yep. I
got to talk to the owners on the east side. Although they were here, one of them at the first meeting, and you know, they didn't get up. I think talking to one of the neighbors thought down on the west side there must have been talking there. But I will reach out to them before, you know, we come back to the next concept meeting.
Okay. I guess most of my questions got answered. Yeah, I have questions about our R3. Seems like a lot of those categories overlap, and it's not a discussion for this item, but I think we should look at R3 again and figure out what we're doing.
Going off of memory, the purpose of the R3 district was to replace PUDs. You know, so when you get in the R3 district, there's a number of choices of, you know, pick one of 5 items or 3 of 10 items for
it just seemed like
amenities and character and all that.
Yeah, but I mean, we can, and also it seemed like it was inconsistent as far as density too. R3 required 2 to 4, but yet our low density requirement is 3 to 5. And it's not a big deal, but I don't know, like I said, it just seemed like we need to look at R3 again and maybe.
And I can, when I come back, like on a next concept, right, I'll do, you know, invest more into it. Will be, you know, one, it'll be colored, easier to pick the spots. I'll get you some streetscapes for it too. You know, that would help. And like I'd say, if anyone wanted to meet on even just the 50-foot wide ones, I know 45 smaller, but I could, you know, or if you're just driving down, right, take a first right and right to the left, the first single family homes and all those.
When it comes to the park on the west corner, what's everybody's thought there?
Like is that the?
Because that tags into the other park from Brayburn right there.
What about it?
Area
Well,
51 or 21 they call it.
Yeah, Area 21
Yeah.
Park, that's correct.
do we need it?
Oh,
Or can that
that's a big honking park, isn't it?
13 acres with that 3?
Then we gotta,
That's
What's that?
5 acres, correct, in the corner, or is that 3 that's proposed?
Three.
Yeah, I think we had 3 in the corner, another 2.5 on the golf course piece. So if you
Okay.
took it, it's another, I mean, if you're not gonna put a piece in here, then I guess you're not gonna, probably wouldn't do the other piece in the,
Correct.
of the golf course. You'd probably like talking 5.5 acres, maybe even 6.
Okay.
what would that put back into
Or,
the park for?
I mean, I don't know if it's possible. Does it make-
30,000?
30,000?
No, maybe a little more, be 90 grand, get that back, 90 grand, because it's 3 units an acre, so,
As far as,
park dedication dollars.
So 90 grand as opposed to the 3 acres or the 6?
Yeah.
The both sides? Just the
That's
3?
just the 3 acres, that's correct.
for me, it's all the tax revenue that you get for the homes too.
And, yeah, that's true, you don't
I mean,
have tax revenue.
that's much bigger money.
So the concept plan for Area 21, I believe, showed a ball field on this corner.
Yep. Now, I know everything that's projected to go there.
Okay.
Oh, this
I
was
just
the-
don't agree that
This
we need a
was,
13
yeah,
acre park.
okay,
right
now I
there.
remember, yeah.
Me personally.
This was the one that we were going to design this year,
Yep.
but we had
Now it all fell
delayed
off.
it because of
Yeah.
outside circumstances.
But we weren't gonna design the bottom end anyways, right?
Correct, just the top.
Because it seemed like.
But we had discussions and showed overall concept plan for the entire.
Does it add any reprieve to the 6 houses if that park is over there? Or does that screw up your whole plan?
No, I mean, we could sure just change, I would probably envision that cross street maybe just going up a little bit higher, I mean, if we could realign it to make
Yeah,
it work.
I personally don't care if the park's not there,
Yeah.
me personally.
Yeah.
I guess
I
for
would
me,
rather-
I
like
would
it.
leave
I
the,
mean, I'd
I would
rather
leave
it
the
stay.
park as described and not make it smaller.
Yeah, I'd rather it stay. I mean, there's amenities that come with a lot of this.
I think there's a lot
Neighborhood.
of discussion we need to have about
Mhm.
what goes in there and who's paying what, but I think this is our one and only chance to have that space, so I think we should take it.
Anybody have anything else? I think I'm.
So I
Everything.
do have one last question. So, just say we had that area and was, back to the commercial.
Yeah.
Like
if it ever was like an indoor baseball facility,
Indoor?
yeah, we're just practicing in that.
Yeah.
Batting cages kind of thing,
Batting
something like
cages,
that.
yeah.
Those are very popular.
So, and the only reason I say is I had a resident reach out and their grandchildren play baseball at CDA, and they're young and realize it's tough for us to get practice, we're at 10 o'clock somewhere, and it sounds like, she'd maybe even be willing to do that, but there was also maybe just some donating funds, and then they had some other personal stuff, I think, going on that I don't think, it could potentially happen, but would you rather see something like that if she wanted to build something there? Could also be an option that, if it's a city facility, she's just a donator, so.
I mean, I'm not against it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were
Could need
referring
it.
to the ones that you go rent an hour and.
Yeah, it would be, and I think, no, it's more for like these youth associations too.
Oh.
But it's interesting you say that at the golf course, as we've been doing a little work, man, we got a lot of requests now. Why don't you have pickleball? Why don't you have cages? Why don't,
Yeah.
they have that interest.
The neighborhood's
Yeah.
starting to ask for it,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
Everybody will want anything if you give it to them.
right.
Yeah, just set the price at the rate.
Yeah. But,
right.
but all right, that might be something that, I'd have that would be thrown at a concept. But like I said, I really don't have a lot of anything else.
Okay.
I haven't tried to market anything because I don't know if it's even viable,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
With you guys, so.
So did you get enough from
Yeah,
us?
Sadie,
I got enough from you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay.
The applicant for item L is here, Mayor.
Yeah, I see that. That sounds good. We will go on to item L then. Who's got that? John?
Yep. Okay, item L, so this is a concept plan for the Schany parcel. So the Schany parcel is located off of North Diamond Lake Road, north of Laura Lake. So this would be the western border of Dayton here. The whole property size is about 104 acres. The applicant is proposing 13 lots that vary in size between about 3.5 acres and 24 acres. So when I say 24 acres, the reason why there's such a difference between the lot sizes, some of them include a significant amount of wetland and woods and topography where it's not necessarily buildable land. So applications that would be needed with this project is a comprehensive plan amendment, a zoning map amendment, and a preliminary and final plat. Critical issues with this would be amending the comprehensive plan or the staging plan from post 2050 to unsewered. With the proposed 13 lots, this would be on well and septic, not on sewer and water. As well as an amendment from the guided low-density residential to rural estate. Additionally, and I thought this was going to be after Bluestone, so I'm a little ahead of myself. Another project that we have tonight is Bluestone, which is in the same area. For parks and trails, the parks plan does identify a desire to have a trail along both sides of North Diamond Lake Road, as well as a trail around Laura Lake and a neighborhood park that's on the north shore of Laura Lake. Within the 2040 comprehensive plan, it references the 2030 comprehensive plan as far as greenway corridors. This project does have greenway corridor along the wetland complex along the west property line as well as along Lake Laura. So the intention is that this would be developed as a conservation planning and development where those natural features would be preserved somehow. And then also with streets, the project does have access to right-of-way that lines up with Xanthus, although because, I'll get there, but the area that we have as right-of-way does have a lot of change in topography and it may not be practical to build on a road within that right-of-way. So the project does propose to shift the road alignment to the west, and I've got a much better drawing of that. Within the comprehensive plan, and this is kind of going at 30,000 square feet down to a little lower. So with the Met Council's comprehensive plan, the Met Council designates all communities to a certain type of community. So Dayton is classified as an emerging suburban edge community, which is intended to develop all with sewer and water at a minimum density of 3 units an acre. The Met Council would support, I believe, an unsewered development where the minimum lot size is 10 acres, which would allow eventual further subdivision to 3 units an acre once sewer is available. So again, just to provide context, so this project is unsewered development at the minimum lot size would be 3 acres in size.
And they're saying, so what they're saying with that is you can set them down to 10 acres, but they still have to be guided 3 per acre.
Correct.
Yep.
For sewer and water. So Dayton's zoning code is a bit more restrictive. So within our A1 agricultural district, the minimum lot size is 40 acres. So as this says, it is currently zoned A1. So the 104 acres right now could be subdivided into 2 lots, as is. Different options, and I'm generalizing this quite a bit. Assuming the council is supportive of unsewered development. So option 1 is to amend the zoning code to allow 10-acre lots and to require ghost platting for future sewer redevelopment. So this is similar to, I believe it was Wildwood Springs, Wild Rose?
Wildwood Springs.
Wildwood Springs, which I believe was platted in the early 90s in the northeast corner of Dayton, as I'm going to say, generally speaking, 2.5 acre lots or larger, intending to be subdivided further once sewer and water becomes available. Option 2 is to approve the project as it is with lots that are less than 10 acres, assuming that the Met Council would authorize the 2040, or assuming the Met Council would not authorize the comprehensive plan amendment. The city would have the choice of trying to appeal it through courts. I don't think we'd have a lot of luck with that, but that's an option for the council. Option 3 is to petition for the Metropolitan Council to remove this property or maybe a larger area from the Metropolitan Urban Services area. So essentially stating that we have no intention of this area being serviced with sewer and water. It's likely that that would have to be incorporated with the 2050 comprehensive plan as opposed to the current comprehensive plan. The timing of the 2050 comprehensive plan, generally it starts in 2026, or the work on it starts in 2026 with the expectation that it would be adopted in 2028. So that's still 4 years from now. And then option 4 would be to wait until the 2050 comprehensive plan, which the Met Council is looking at allowing flexible density. But this is very in a draft form where the Met Council's intent is to, whereas right now we're supposed to have a average density of 3 units an acre. The 2050 comp plan will likely be 4 units an acre citywide. And so the idea with the flexible density is you're going to have some areas of town that have higher density, so apartments as an example, in other areas that have lower density. So whether it's 3 acres or 24 acres, but it averages out to 4 units an acre.
So, John, these are different options than we've seen in the
Planning Commission.
in that. Well, I'm looking at.
In the staff report. So, yeah, so the Met Council came out with kind of some draft policies this past Friday after the staff report was written.
Because we sent them a letter asking questions, correct?
Oh, you take all the credit. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, okay, well, these are different options than what we looked at, so, all right.
Okay.
Well,
And does option 5 work?
And
I gotta look at what option 5 was.
so.
What's option 5?
Option 5 is just plot the whole thing for sewer now. Why can't that be done?
Plat the whole thing for sewer now?
Plat it for 3 units per acre now.
Oh, you're talking about ghost plating.
Ghost plat it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, ghost plat, okay.
What happened to the Ag 3 zoning?
Oh, so another option would be to add a third agricultural district, so A3, where the minimum lot size is 10 acres. So
Okay.
that would, I'm going to say is probably the easiest one because it would be accepted by the Met Council.
Is that on the next page or?
Nope, that's in the
It's the
staff
top
report,
one.
but not on here. Oh, well,
It's the top one.
no, we do have option number 1. So amend
Well-
the zoning code to allow 10 acre lots.
Okay. So,
But that kills the project.
well, the 10 does. Where's the 10 come from? I really would like
acres?
an answer. Yeah, because we've never, again,
For
there's an old.
10 acres.
Yep.
So it's from the Met Council. I'm going to,
Where is it written down that, so we can do 10 and keep it guided, 3 per acre.
sure, yep.
Why is that 10 a 10 and not a 5 or a 4? Where's that 10 come from? I cannot, nobody can tell me.
I'm going to say the 10 acres is more practical. It's more easier to subdivide later
Don't
on.
want to hear about
don't wanna
easy.
go there.
I want to know what the rules are.
Okay. I can look it up, but
Well, I've asked for that a number of times.
okay.
I will tell you that the 10 acres is coming directly from that council as their arbitrary number that they're using as a minimum.
Yes.
So-
And since we don't give them our developments, you know what my story is. I'm confused about where we
So we
have
don't
this
give them
limit.
our developments, however, they do plat monitoring, and they will, I mean,
And
you
do
can either
what?
be You can either be upfront with them or you can be not upfront with them, which doesn't.
So they've already told us they will not approve anything under 10.
That's correct.
They've
Yep.
told us that they will not approve any REs, so these options aren't viable.
They're not,
So here we are, and I still don't understand where this 10 comes from. Why can't we guide it not guide it, set in Ag 3 of 4 per acre, or sorry, 4 acres minimum,
Yeah.
and guide it 3 per acre, and be done. This area is
That's
gonna have a
right.
hard time with sewer anyways.
That's where I get lost too, is why is it better?
I
mean,
just
if
don't
you're
know where the 10 comes from.
Saying 10, guided to, ghost platted and guided to 3, why is that better than guiding it to 5 or 4 and ghost platting it to 3? I mean, the one is the future plan, right? And
The guiding.
it may or may not come to be.
Right.
But where, the starting point, I'm not sure, I understand how it makes any difference what that is.
Okay. So I'm going to ask, what is the end, what's the goal? Like, what do you want to see
I wanna see this development happen.
at 3 to 24 acre lot?
Yeah.
3 to 24 acre
As
lots,
is,
okay.
as you see it.
And I'm not seeing a path for us to do that. We keep hearing that Met Council doesn't like this. Well, that's very special. Tell us what the rules are.
Sure.
Because if the Met Council, I understand they want to keep it at 10. I want to know what their lever is to force us to keep it to 10.
So in the packet, there's a letter from the Met Council that kind of
Yep,
describes.
and that
it.
said
So-
they would not support it.
Yes.
That's very special. Again, I want to know what,
Let me find it. So there's a state statute that says that it requires, the Met Council creates their own comprehensive plan for the whole region, and then every
Sure.
community has to create their own comprehensive plan that's consistent with the Met Council. So the Met Council has the regional sewer system.
Yep.
In which we all contribute towards and has to be compliant with that. That's the key.
Yep.
Is that whatever investments the Met Council makes in their regional sewer system, the communities have to support.
Yep.
Or their development has to support.
And
That's
the
how we
comp
get-
plans do that.
That's how we get to the 3 units per acre.
Yep. Yep.
But you're looking for 10 acre, why is it 10 acres?
I'm
and
looking
not-
for why it is that right now we have 40
Yeah,
and everybody thinks we can go to 10. And I want to know, why can't we go to 4?
instead of 10.
Yeah, well, what? Yeah,
What
Okay.
verbiage prevents
because
us
if
from
we're
doing
still
so?
guiding
Yeah.
3 per acre, why does it matter? And that's my hang up. That's why I've asked this 1,000 times over the past couple of years, and everybody just says, well, you can't do it. Why?
Okay.
I'm right there with you.
I'll figure it out.
I'm right there with you.
I guess for me too, I would like to see us find a path to make this development happen.
Because
Yeah,
it's not
suppose
just this one. I mean, there's other areas that I think would lend themselves to large lots, and I just don't get why, especially in an area where we think is going to be hard to sewer.
Sewer, yeah, put utilities in,
It
yeah.
just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and I think for me too, it's not clear what's law and we don't like it,
Yeah.
because there is a distinction there for me.
Sure, okay. So of these 4 options, what you're leaning towards is option 2?
no,
No.
No.
option 5.
Well, see, I don't know what option 2 there is. It kind of combines things. Because I don't understand, what would we have to change in the comp plan? What would we have to, amend
Amend, yeah.
to get this to happen?
So the comprehensive plan is guided for sewer development, which we're saying it's still going to stay
Still
as sewer.
stays guided. Yeah.
And then also at 3 to 5 units an acre, which we're saying, okay.
Which should
if
be
we're gonna do
guided.
4 acre lots,
Well, no, it would be guided 3 to 5.
okay,
It's no different than a 10 or a 40,
yeah.
except it's 4. And that's why I'm a little elevated about this thing, because we keep asking the same question and never get an answer. Other than they don't like it. Well, I know they don't like it. They would like us to all live in communes. I understand that. But I just don't understand where the 10 comes from.
I'll work on a response.
Okay. So I guess it would be partially one. I mean, well, it would be a moaning.
Except not 10.
Except not 10.
Yeah.
We'd be creating an Ag 3 with whatever we needed to do. And I don't know how we say where that Ag 3 is allowed, if it's north of, some latitude, or maybe it's an area like Hartman's, Homer's old property. I don't know. But it just seems like we need to, that all that land is 2050 plus. It just seems wrong that we lock it up.
So is the intention to have, just say minimum 4-acre lots within the areas that are guided post 2050?
I'd have to look at the map because our map's a mess. I mean,
I would not recommend changing everything to post 2050 to that.
No.
I think there's certain areas that bode well to it,
Yeah.
but I don't believe we would want to change everything because it's going to.
I think we need to look at it. I also,
Opened up a great big can of worms.
I
think
think
we-
you open too much can of worms.
we need to look
Begs
at
the
that
question,
too,
what's the worst thing that
because
can
we got,
happen, and
it
we
seems
don't
like
know
we
yet.
have a higgly-piggly of,
I would agree.
Well,
Yeah.
the whole idea is just to leave it as 3 units per acre. It may or may not happen.
yeah, and maybe we get Amy involved. I don't know. And just simply tell us what are the rules, because we obviously don't know them. We keep being told you can't do this, except nobody says why you can't do this, so. And it gets into,
The whole idea is Met Council is gonna want you to cram as many as you can get in there because they get more money then.
well, it's just easier for them to plan.
And a
It's
lot of
just-
times what you don't know don't hurt you.
Well, they'll know. I'm not concerned about hiding something from them. I just want to know what the rules are, and we
But
don't.
if you set it up as the rules that it's platted, like I say, it may or may not happen, you're still following the rule. We don't know if in 2070 it gets platted, if it gets sewered or not.
I don't know, I just feel like then we're kind of messing with the developer then at that point. He's kind of a pawn in our game then. I like Dennis's idea of, like, I'd like to understand where that number came from and how we make some of this stuff viable for, development in the future state, so.
Sure. When we're talking about the number, we're talking about 10 acres.
Yes.
Yeah,
From Met Council.
Mayor and Council, I did tell you where the number came from. It's an arbitrary number from Met Council. There's no, from my knowledge of everything Met Council is, there's no science behind the number.
No, I'm not worried
It's
about
just
science, and I know
an arbitrary number that they've used to say this is what works for development to happen at a pace that is
Yes.
allowed, or say a pace that would allow them to have development happen.
Yes.
Without having to be required to use a different parcel to get that development to happen. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
They like the number 10.
Correct.
Yep.
And they use the number 10 because you can develop something on 10 acres and not rely on having your neighbors or 2 or 3 parcels
Sure.
combined to get to something developed.
Yep.
That is why they use 10.
Yep,
And
and
not 5, 4,
Right.
8, 6, or 2.
I'm absolutely fine with that,
But-
but I want to know if we pick 4, can they legally say, no, now you're in trouble? And that's
Yes.
my question.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, they can.
Okay, how?
They'll fight us on what grounds?
For the statute, because.
What statute?
Well, it's in the staff report. I'll find it in a second. Or-
It's in the packet, right?
It is.
Page 232 to 237.
Count them out, John.
So it's Minnesota statute 473.175 subdivision 1.
Yeah.
So the
I think I did
council,
look at
the
that.
Met Council may require local government units to modify their comprehensive plan or part of thereof that does not conform with the Metropolitan Systems Plan.
Yep.
If the council or the Metropolitan Council concludes that the local plan is more likely than not to contain a substantial departure from the council's adopted policy plans and capital budgets for the Metropolitan Wastewater Service.
Yep.
That's it.
That's with regards to the plan. This affects nothing in the plan, right? We do not have that 10 in the plan. We do not have our current zoning code in the plan. We have guided use in the plan. We have what the land use is going to be in the plan. We do not have our zoning code in the plan. So yeah, they approved the plan. We know that. That's old news. We do know they approved the plan or not. I mean, it's up to them to approve the plan. We have to provide a plan. But nowhere in that plan does it say what our minimum lot, the 40 acres is not in there. So this is what I'm getting at.
What it does say is that, this area is guided for 3 to 5 units per acre.
So it's a 40 acre lot, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it's guided for 3 per acre.
Okay. So again, the council's intent, just to summarize, is 4 acre lots for a minimum lot size.
Yeah, I think it
And
was,
then guided for sewer and water at whatever density is needed.
I think it was low density, 3. It was 3 per acre, 3 to 5 per acre. So.
Okay, I don't think it will go through the Met Council, but that's the direction for the council, for the city council.
Well, I guess here's the deal. We're not the experts, and I want to make sure that we're not doing something we're going to get spanked for.
Okay.
And I don't see how we're going to get spanked for it, but I'd like to know that we're not going to get spanked. So I don't know if we get, like I said, do we got to get Amy involved, or how do we know what the rules are?
So it's in the packet.
I can reach out to Amy.
Okay. Because that's the whole thing behind this development. If we absolutely cannot do that, if your statute blah 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 says you cannot do this, this is toast. This
whole project is.
This whole project is toast. So otherwise, I think it's a perfectly fine use of the land that it sounds like we were going to have a hard time sewering in 30 years. So.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree with you.
So I didn't know what that.
What does that do? I don't know.
You're just here for the ride.
Where you go
Yep.
there?
Here to hang out.
I mean, I don't know. I don't. Like I
So
said,
we haven't talked about the concept plan at all, so.
Yep.
The plan itself, kind of what I'm hearing is you're fine with no changes.
I don't think I had any listed. I'm cool with if we're going to do something with the trail. I don't think we should necessarily pave it going around there, but around Lower Lake.
Yeah, there's not gonna be enough density to pave that trail, at least not now.
And I don't know, as far as, there was some concern about maybe going to Brockton instead of,
Yeah, so this was a comment from Hennepin County as far as a suggestion, so not an official comment of, instead of having an access on North Diamond Lake Road,
yeah.
of having an access out to Brockton.
But, yeah,
That's not part of this property.
and there's properties in
You know,
between
somebody
there.
else's too at that point.
It seemed like maybe it could be tweaked to provision for that in the future.
Yep.
But I don't know, is Brockton any less busy than,
Right,
it just seemed to me you're going from one county road to
yeah.
another.
Yeah, quarter mile up the road you hit.
Yeah,
So
I think that was my only 2 comments about this thing. And again, it lets us turn Picket Lane into a complete road. That's all I had.
it's pretty basic.
So just for clarity, so within the comprehensive plan that's specific to parks and trails, so there's, the comp plan proposes a trail along the north side of North Diamond Lake Road, both the north and south side, as well as a trail along Laurel Lake, and then a neighborhood park in the north section. So kind of what I'm hearing is, I don't think the council's really discussed the trail along North Diamond Lake Road. It sounds like there's support for a trail, not necessarily a paved trail around the lake, and then we haven't discussed a park.
Yeah, I don't have I think the park could come if 2050 happens and they get the 3 per acre.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
Wants that.
I'd be fine with just taking right away for the trail along the north side there of Diamond Lake. But,
Lower Lake, or the road. You're saying?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sorry, yeah, the road.
Okay.
There's a spot there where you're gonna have a hard time getting a trail on the north side.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's why if you got right away, it's probably never gonna get used, but I don't know. I don't know what we need for right away, but
I don't think you even have 10 feet.
So do you mean a trail along the road or a trail along?
well, you're saying
the lake?
our trail plan has a need on the road.
Along North Diamond Lake Road?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, like Scott said, you got a problem east of there.
I don't think you have 35 feet you don't have 30 feet from the road to the
lake,
swamp.
yeah, to the
it's
lake,
right
whatever it
there.
is. It's
But
right on the road.
regardless of that, I
Probably
would
20
think-
feet from the road, there's water. So if you can put a trail in the ditch, I suppose, but that's county right away.
Yeah.
But having some right of way on this development, just on the north side of the road, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think it'll ever get used. And then, as far as on top of, on the north side of Lower Lake, I don't know,
The trail would just stop, wouldn't it?
it would just stop, and all these people have large lots. People on
Yeah.
large lots
They don't,
they got nature right there, so I don't know.
Utilizing their yards.
Yeah.
You know,
I wouldn't even worry about the
It's the
park.
one big lot that they're proposing on that north edge there too, I mean.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really one person.
I don't know. I think that could be negotiated later if a development goes in there.
I think.
Yeah, it would-
For now, you
Sonia
take
first
the
did
dedication
need to
money and put it in the can.
Incorporate a trail in that neighborhood. The park piece of it, I know it's identified by area as neighborhood park.
Search area.
Ultimately, I don't know that this is the right neighborhood for it.
It wouldn't be like this.
This won't be the last development that'll come up in that target zone.
Mhm.
And I think the park could come later or off of another parcel.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for the developer?
Questions for us?
You have questions
Yep.
for us? Yeah, come on up. If you have something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Zach and John, everyone for being here. I appreciate you guys entertaining this, even though it's a little bit non-conforming for what Dayton's got going on. I've looked all over Dayton for my own personal use, and I'll tell you what, there's 2 spots in Dayton where you can have something similar to this, and that's on Thicket Lane, and that's on Berkshire, and there's not a single person willing to sell.
Yep.
And it's just not gonna happen. Those plats that were done before 2002, 2003, when the Met Council kind of got all their power, they're not really duplicatable, it's very hard. This parcel was selected specifically because it's not suitable for sewer and water. We did the Pineview Meadows development a few years back, and there was people up in arms about all the density. As a developer, I like sewer and water, it's great. It's there's a demand for it in Dayton, people love it. I looked at this piece and I can't sewer and water it. I mean, the depth of the sewer, it's nothing crazy compared to stuff you guys have seen. I know you guys have stuff, 60, 70 feet deep, incredibly difficult. But it's not just the depth of the utilities. It's the soil type, it's the topography with the rolling hills, it's the trees. I would have to basically flatten out all the sites, and there's like basically a small mountain range going through here. The amount of earthwork that would be needed it's just not going to happen. No one's ever going to do it. It doesn't feasibly make sense. Across there's a greenway overlay, which is a tree preservation status or whatever it is, and there's just too many hurdles. There's too many things. It's going to stay a soybean field the way it is, or it's going to be 13 houses like we're proposing. It's kind of just what it is. I think this is the least impactful thing to the area. But to touch on the parks and the trails and all the stuff we just heard about, this product is not going to be something that people want with public amenities. The reason they're buying these acreage lots is they want the privacy.
Yep.
They'll put up their own jungle gym for their kids or their own pool. If they wanted a public swimming pool, they would have bought in Riverwalk and they would have played pickleball and, this or that. It's a different buyer, it's a different type of thing. I personally, and a trail to where, it's not connecting to anything. If there was something to connect to, it'd make more sense. Yeah, there's a trail to nowhere.
Yeah.
I think the plat that we've got proposed is probably the most likely thing that would be feasible or even just logical. But I don't see a whole lot of things that could change on it. There's a ridge that goes through this property, and that's kind of how the roadway was designed. There's not a lot of ways to cut this thing up unless you flatten it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that goes back to the unfeasibility aspect of it. I get the difficulties with the Met Council and how to package it and best deliver it to them for approval. I understand that's a challenge. This is something people in Dayton want. I've lived in Dayton my whole life. I've grown up in Dayton. I love Dayton. I want to stay in Dayton. I get calls all the time for people that have heard we're working on this, and they're wondering when they can put a lot on hold. And I say, well, you can't. It's not approved yet. But the basic gist of it is there's a high demand for this, and I think people think of Dayton as a suburb but still rural, and this is what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of pieces, I understand if this was a flat cornfield with sewer and water butted right up to it, not going to happen. That's why this piece was chosen. It just doesn't make sense for anything else.
And then just for record, can you state your name and address?
Yeah, sorry, I'm Zach Brown, 13311 Arrowwood Lane, Dayton.
I think generally we're supportive of the development, and we're fishing around here to try to find a path forward on how to do it. However you can help us with this, I think everybody's open to that, because we're certainly bouncing around trying to look for something we can pinpoint to say, yes, this is what we want to do, and this is how we can do it from a code or Met Council wishes or whatever standpoint.
And if there's something I can give you to help you with that, let me know. I'm happy to do it, whether it's a survey on the property, whether it's a profile view of the sewer and water, whatever it is, we're happy to work with you guys to try and make that happen. I think if the Met Council looked at it from an objective standpoint, it's not suitable to be high density. The amount of earth that would have to be moved, the volume, cubic yards, it's just not feasible.
It seemed like, common sense doesn't come into the equation very often, but it seems like there ought to be some path with the Met Council to say that the sewer is not feasible in this area, and so we want to exempt it.
Sure, and I think the Met Council's working in that direction. It's just not under the current comprehensive plan. So that'd be waiting for the 2050 plan.
What would be?
For flexible density, flexible density zoning.
It's one of the terms in the 7 or 8 pages from Met Council.
Mm-hmm. All right, so.
As far as if it did come down to 4-acre lot, now, how many lots are 3? I didn't look at it. 1 or 2?
I'll point to them real quick here.
Yeah.
They could go to 4 if they had to, couldn't they?
Yeah, so I think this one and this one, no, I'm sorry. This one is the only one that's 3.5. This one's 5, but it includes this long finger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the city has indicated that they wanted some right-of-way through here, so I don't know if that would count against that for future development. But this is a 5-acre, this one's 3.5. The rest of them, I believe, are all over 4.
Yeah, the one thing that the applicant had made, sorry, Mayor and Council, the one thing the applicant had made note of during the planning commission meeting is that not sure on septic sites. If we were to say, get as many in there, at 4 acres, or basically make them smaller so you can get more lots on here, or whatever the number we decide on. If it's not this exact design, the comes into question of sewer sites. Septic sites, sorry.
So
Not
you
sewer
had
sites,
brick
septic
tests
sites.
done?
Yeah, I had
He's already
ND
had
Septic
it.
out. They found primary and secondary sites on each of the 13 proposed lots.
Okay. Did they have to really look hard, or?
No, they're out there for about 1 day. They did the
Okay.
whole site. They said, I can give you the whole report, but to generate it is not cheap. And I said, well, let's just hold tight until we see if it's even needed.
Okay.
But realistically, to go to 4-acre minimums, we would need a variance on 1 lot. That would be it. 1 out of the 13 proposed. Or we would have to move some lot lines around, playing with that one with that long finger that comes down. But
Oh, sure.
So Zach, when you say variance for what?
one of the lots being less than 4 acres,
Oh, I see.
unless we played around with the lot lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we looked at the 13-acre one on the lake, Lake Laura, the big one in the right corner. The only way to make that a smaller lot, other than a shared driveway, which is going to kill the appetite for this type of product, we would have to get a variance to, because we need 200 feet per city code at the street to make it a legal lot. So we would need to have a variance to shrink that to let us have 2 side-by-side driveways, because I can't do a shared driveway with this product. It won't work.
This would be a new zoning district, so
Yeah.
we would create new sets. So that, what your zoning district you're talking about, Zach, I think is the R2 district, I believe, and that has a 200-foot width minimum.
Yeah.
So if we could work around that, we might be able to.
If you
get
create a
14
new
lot.
district,
Yeah.
an A3 district, for example, and made it smaller lots, then you could adjust those widths at the
Correct.
at the street.
Yep.
And then you wouldn't need a variance.
If we-
Yep.
Yeah, if we were okay to go forward with this, I think it'd probably be a lot of little adjustments we could.
Okay, so let's say, just forget about the zoning rules. So if this is a planned unit development, there's no, we're talking minimum lot size of 4 acres, forget about that. Lot width. What is the minimum lot width that you would like to see for this?
Well, they've all got to be over 70 feet, I would think.
They're all at least 200 in this drawing.
I was gonna say that.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no concern there.
Are you asking us what we would set it?
Yeah, if you
Yes.
if you were to set it to something, what would you pick?
It depends on that last lot that you were talking about, maybe 100.
I just don't want a shared driveway, because nobody wants a shared
Why would I
driveway.
not run that by planning commission or something like that?
Oh, it will,
Get their
but
input.
where I'm going with this, this is drawn at 13 lots at 200 foot
I know where he's
widths.
going with it,
Yeah.
to get 4 acre lots.
Why 13 and why not 20? Or, whatever the math comes out to be.
And if we could be at 5 acres minimum or 4, it would make my life way easier, because 13 acres spread out, it makes things more expensive. If we could drop the price and get a higher density, that'd be great. But like Zach pointed out, my concern then is, because I'm going to quote ND Septic out here, it's peanut butter for soil.
Yeah.
That's what they said. That's the trick. We'd have to see what we could do.
And they would all
I
end up
prefer the 13 instead of going to 20. I think it's-
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that this is, in my mind, an extension of the Thicket Hills neighborhood, and it should resemble that to the extent that it can.
And that's what we were shooting for. Berkshire and Thicket, we were just trying to bring on more of that. I feel like there's a lot of demand for that.
There is a lot of demand for that.
Yep.
Okay.
So I don't know what the lot width is at Berkshire and Thicket, but if we use that as a guideline to make this look as much like those 2 projects as possible.
I believe they're 10-acre minimum.
But I mean, as far as the lot width.
Yep.
I don't know if they're 200 feet or 300 feet or whatever it is.
Even if they're above, I don't know. You say our R2 is 200 feet?
I believe our R2 district is 200 feet. That's correct.
If we had to go under that to make things work, I would not have a problem with that. So I guess.
Yeah, there's at some point where it's not going to work. I mean, make it too skinny on the frontage, then it doesn't get your 4 acres minimum, so then it doesn't work. So, I mean, there's only so many things that work. So if you take 200 and make it 100, then you don't get enough for 4 acres.
For that 13 one, right?
Mhm.
For the large one on the top
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like I said, I'm
for
just
the
looking.
driveway aspect, yeah. And
I'm
that's-
looking in general. You can only make it so small. Like it's obviously
I
it's a
hear ya.
minimum
Yeah.
number. You can make it bigger, but
Yeah, I agree. I get that, but I don't, if you have to run 2 driveways through that area, I wouldn't have heartburn with that either. And then you get 2 lots out of it, so, I don't. But it seems like, we have a bigger question than that is, So conceptually, it sounds like we're all
Yeah.
good with it. It's just the big question as to if we can allow it.
How do we package it to the Met Council and?
Well, I don't.
I'm not the professional.
I don't know.
We'll work on something.
Yeah,
We'll be in
have to
touch.
figure that out. So.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so we can go back to item K, it looks like. Concept plan Bluestone Properties.
Going in the wrong direction.
All right.
I don't know who put so many slides on the things here. Okay, item K, concept plan for Bluestone property. So this is located on 40 acres on the south side of North Diamond Lake Road, the north side of Diamond Lake. What's being proposed, I believe, is 45 lots that would be sewered and water. Sewer and water would come from Rogers. Needed applications for this is a comprehensive plan amendment, a zoning map amendment, a conditional use permit for shoreland plan unit development, a CUP for a boat ramp, and preliminary and final plat. The critical issues, so amending the comprehensive plan for the sewer staging plan. So this is guided as post 2050. That would need to be amended from post 2050 to current. And then sewer in an agreement between Rogers and Dayton to extend sewer and water from Rogers into Dayton to service this project. Other critical issues include the layout of the project and connectivity for both streets and trails to adjacent properties or future developments, and then trail connectivity along the lake shore and North Diamond Lake Road. For the comprehensive plan amendment, again, this would be amending it from post 2050 to current stage. In between the current stage and the 2050 is about 11,000 homes that are planned. So the intent is that within the sewer staging plans that we're going from south to north and east to west, this is more in the northwest area of Dayton. Let's see. That said, within the comp plan, it says that the decision to amend or to extend urban services is at the discretion of the city council. So whatever the comprehensive plan says, the city council can do something different. But also that there's adequate supply of vacant land prior to moving to the next sewer stage area. And I won't read through all this, but the map at the left is the plan for where the sewer system will extend to throughout the city. And then this is where the project is located. The map at the left is the project superimposed upon the comprehensive plan's parks and trail system. Comments from the Plan Commission is they're generally opposed to amending the staging plan, is that the development is premature. There are mixed opinions if it were changed to large lots with well and septic versus waiting for sewer and water to become available post 2050.
So I didn't understand that discussion because we can't do that anyways.
Do what?
Well, we just had a discussion about septics on 4 acres. This would be septics on a. I don't know where this even came from.
The lots would need to be bigger. So instead of 45, you might have 20 lots, or quarter acre lots. And so the number of lots would decrease significantly to have sewer and water.
Sewer and water on
I'm
this
sorry,
particular
it's
one,
well
it
and
might be
septic.
25 lots.
You mean septic?
Well, yeah, if you had a septic, let's see, I'll show you where then.
Well, it's 4, even if you did 4 acres, you'd have 10 lots. It's 40 acres.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this one even got discussed. I was just confused by it, but. Okay.
The Plan Commission mentioned that there were no amenities shown, no public amenities shown on the project. Park Commission comments was to, they like the trail along the lake shore as well as the trail along North Diamond Lake Road and a park at the lake. So the project does propose private access to the lake that would service the homeowners So again, this would be private and maintained by an HOA. The Park Commission said this would be a great place for some, whether it's public access to the lake or just some type of a public area. One thing that's unique about this project, it does include kind of a homestead that's off right in the middle of the property. It does include 3 accessory buildings. There's a stage, an outdoor kitchen, and outdoor bar area. The thought here is that those could be preserved for public use as a part of the park. So, comments?
Well, we're going to run into the same problem here as the previous one.
Well, this is sewer.
Potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Well.
I'm not saying that's the right type of sewer, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mean from?
And again, it's in 2050.
Yeah.
Which opens up another can of worms. I mean, it's a huge can of worms. If we open it up for one, you open it up for everybody.
So I've got quite a few comments that you wanna go first, or you got?
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say that I'm not at all a fan of changing the staging plan for this particular development. To me, there's nothing particularly unique about it. And it's at the far end of our staging plan. There needs to be something really compelling for me to have any interest in it, because I feel like we know our staging plan isn't perfect, but it is our plan, and I think that we need to have a compelling reason to change it. Like what was in the plan doesn't make sense anymore. That this doesn't make it over any hurdle for me as far as changing the staging plan to allow this. It's another sort of island of development in an area that's not ready to be developed for 30 years. I don't have a lot to say about the details of the plan because it stops right there for me. I'm not interested in changing the staging plan.
I'm right there with you. I mean, to me, I'm not interested in changing the plan at all. The one thing that really puzzles me about this whole thing is there was a comment made in the Planning Commission meeting that individually we've all talked about and approved the half-acre lots.
No, that never happened.
I never said such a thing.
No.
Is a half-acre lot better than a third of an acre? Yeah, it is. But I didn't approve the 40.
Those words never came out of my mouth, so.
So for that reason, I just don't know what I'm getting. And I don't want to go there at all.
Yeah, no, I'm just nothing intrigues me about this to make the changes that would be necessary, the long haul for it, so I'm just not the product type that I would want in this area.
I mean, an option there for this particular thing is the same thing, 1 in 10, and put 4 lots on this for now, and in 2050 come back and rehash it out.
Possibility, but that's not what's in front of us right now. So.
No, I know that. Yeah. I mean, but that's the option.
Yeah.
That's the only place I'd go with it.
Yeah, I guess I had a few issues with the layout. It doesn't account for the neighboring properties. It kind of locks them in to some extent, but just because it's going on a county road, which we know they're going to limit access. And I had the Planning Commission had a lot of comments as far as that goes. The developer want to come forward? And yeah, we put a lot of work into the staging plan, and I don't think it's a trivial thing. Pulling it in by 1 decade is one thing, but pulling it in by 3 decades seems like a big a leap.
What I don't know, and I missed the previous one. But, so we have 40 acres here, and I guess if this would have happened the way that I'm normally is sort of this give and take that we're maybe having right now, which have been really good before we put the concept plan in. Be that as it may, if we went to like bigger lots, and I'm assuming, and I said this at the planning commission, that, you know, septic and well, which I'm not really for, but if you guys are for, you know, I'm willing to work with you guys. And then we would go down to, I sent it to Zach, but I think it's 25, 26, 27 lots. But let me step back and say, if we went to bigger lots, we've got Charles Cutt as a builder, and now I would have to go back to Charles Cutt and say, look, Dayton wants 4, 5, 6 acre lots, whatever you guys decide. Would you still be interested? And then I know what the cost is to get water and sewer from Rogers. I know that number. That number is not going to change. But then my issue becomes, you know, and then what are we talking for lots, home sales here? What's the number? Got to be, because now I got to divide that water and sewer among, you know, so if there are 4 acre lots, which doesn't work out really well, because we'd have to cut out some for the road and a holding pond. So I don't know how many, we wouldn't get 10 lots, we would get, let's say 9 or 8, somewhere in there. So now if we have 8 lots, would CUD agree to buy them from me at a price that allows me to pay for water and sewer to Rogers? I don't know that answer, but I'm willing to like look at that. If that, you know, if that's what you guys think should happen. But then I think you'd have to say then these homes are going to become, you know, $4 or $5 million homes. Because I just think that the number is to get water and sewer. Well, it's only half a mile from Rogers to here, so it's not long, but it's expensive. And you know, I'm willing to look at all of those options. I mean, there's a lot of ways to slice it up, and I'm not set at one. And in fact, I've heard people say, you know, the county won't allow 2 accesses in, and I would be like, that's fine, we'll use the current access, and then we'll have, I don't know, maybe a circle, and then in the circle we'll have the holding pond. Something. There's a lot of ways to do this, and again, I'm not set on anything. I just know that the cost to get the water and sewer has to be covered by the amount that CUD will pay me for the lots. Now I'm going to shut up. So it's kind of up to you guys. What do you guys want?
Well, I think we would probably agree you would need the density. I think the problem is the staging. That's really what it is. This area is not staged. And it's not as simple as just making an amendment to our plan. There's a lot of stuff that went into that plan. A lot of stuff that would need to go into that plan. We haven't even looked at. Generally, the 2050 areas are areas we haven't even looked at. They're just, bloop. They're put into 2050 if we don't look at them. And that's been the headwind that you're going to have with this. It's 3 decades out, or 2. Probably 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, no, if the can of worms is if we approve yours, there's a whole bunch of other properties that are going to say, I want mine now today, not 2050.
Scott, you're right, but the economics make you.
I'm not on the dream path of the $4 or $5 million home. I'm not there.
Okay, so so that's what you're against.
No, I'm not, I didn't say I'm against it. I don't know if you can sell 10 or 15, $4 or $5 million homes. You're trying to glorify this as the $100 million project.
No,
And
I'm not.
I don't look at that.
No, I'm not. My initial goal is I've got a 75-year-old guy that wants to retire in Dayton.
Okay, so he can retire. He just can't do it by selling his property.
His issue.
And he should have never bought it with the intention that he's gonna take 2050 land and develop it in 2024.
Do you know that the realtor and the previous mayor?
That has nothing to do with it.
understand, Scott, I understand that. You're saying a statement, I'm trying my best to give you the information possible. And I said, you shouldn't have done that. But hindsight, is always 20/20.
Okay.
So now, he's got this land. I've talked with Met Council, they're fine with it. I've talked with Rogers, they're fine with it. Everyone is I've solved a lot of your problems, but I just don't know what other problems you have that I can solve.
The reason that the Met Council and anybody else is fine with us updating the comp plan is they aren't doing the updating. We are the ones that will do the updating, and we have not even looked at this area. And I think, the bottom line is it sounds like you're not going to get support to move this out of 2050. That's the problem. And it's not just that, it's not a trivial thing to just readjust some of these pieces of property. You make it sound like we just send an email off to Met Council. It doesn't work that way. There's
No,
a lot
I
of work
understand, I
in it.
understand what needs to take place. I agree, and I agree that people will say, hey, I'm going to develop. And it's like, fine, you can develop, but does it make economic sense? And I would say to you that the value of the homes that you need to put on the land, if you're going to do water and sewer,
Yeah.
they've got to be a lot.
Yep, I agree with that. And like I said, I agree that you have to get this density if you're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree with that. Now, the plan may work, but that's a different issue. The problem is, you want us to pull it in 3 decades.
Yeah, I guess Dennis, I think that the idea that I see here is that Diamond Lake is not used very much now. And I don't know why. I don't know why it's not. It's obviously not Lake Minnetonka, but it's still a better lake than Medicine Lake. And Medicine Lake is packed with homes.
Sure.
And I don't know why this hasn't, the city of Dayton, I would say to you that areas that you should like as amenities, I would say the lake would be high in that list.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of giving it to you as in those terms.
Well, except we'd have to pull it in.
Yeah.
I don't
You're not
know.
giving us anything. You're asking us to bring it in 3 decades early.
So if your argument is that our comp plan should have looked at this area as an earlier development, that may be, but it didn't, and it doesn't. And I think there's not an appetite to pull it in. That's the bottom line.
All right. Then I think we're done, right?
I don't have anything
That's
else.
where I am on it.
Yeah.
I don't have any other feedback.
All right. Item N.
N. Getting close. Okay. Item N, this is a concept plan for East French Lake Road in Territorial. So generally speaking, Territorial is this east-west route or street, and then East French Lake Road goes north and south. The applicant is Pulte. Needed applications for this includes a zoning map amendment and then the preliminary and final plat. And I'm thinking this was not a PUD. No, so this is just R3 zoning, 47 lots. 42 lots, okay. So currently it's three separate properties. There's been a number of concept plans that have been before the council in the past. The development to the west is Territorial Trail. This is somewhat kind of intended to be an extension of Territorial Trail somewhat. Critical issues here is access to East French Lake Road, proposed tot lot, and then street widths. Comments from the Planning Commission is for the architecture to be consistent with Territorial Trails, to change the tot lot to something for older kids. So the tot lot that's being proposed is a HOA maintained tot lot. And then to allow access to East French Lake Road at the gas line easement, which is, this is the gas line easement through here.
Can roads run across that easement?
I'm going to let probably Jason or the developer answer that.
Road, sorry.
So
Go across the gas easement?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have crossings in several areas. In fact, we have one that's not all that far from parallel to it, through it, which was, I would not recommend. That was not a fun process, but they do allow crossings of utilities and roads.
Okay.
Comments from the Park Commission was that to consider a public park versus an HOA park and something different from the neighboring tot lot, such as a sport court, whether that be basketball or pickleball or something else. And then to have a trail along East French Lake Road connecting to Three Rivers Trail. So what I failed to mention, Three Rivers is planning on a regional trail along Territorial Road, which would eventually connect to Elm Creek Park. And then this is shown as a sort of, it's not shown here, but the suggestion is to have a city trail that would go along East French Lake Road or somehow connect this trail system to Territorial Road. So, and then we have a number of slides from the developer that I'll let him summarize these if the council would like.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't connect? Somewhere in the Planning Commission meeting that, I don't know if it was Jason or who it was, but somebody mentioned that access to East French Lake Road is not a good spot. Is that simply because it's so close to the other one?
Mm-hmm. But just generally speaking, we want to limit accesses to our major collectors.
Sure.
That will become an increasingly used collector street. So from an engineering perspective, the preference would be to not have a connection. If one were considered for emergency services or other connectivity reasons, we may want to slide it south some.
Yeah.
We'd have to look closer on it and go maybe review better sight lines, and we'd want to maintain distance from Territorial as well. That would be the critical spacing, if you will, but we also would like separation from Territorial as well.
So I guess if this was done as an entire development, would we have another access somewhere down in there for East French Lake Road?
If the development to the west didn't exist?
If the development to the west had done this part also, would they have just simply not connected this part to either road and just let it connect to the old development?
Interconnection.
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, the original concept plan for Territorial Trail, when they put this together, had this portion here, and it did not have another connection
I seen
to
that.
East French Lake Road or Territorial.
And I'm just, That was a concept plan from back then, right?
Yeah, so the
Oh,
concept
that's
plan
right.
was
Okay.
presented, we had them ghost plat out the other lots next to
Yeah.
them when they did Territorial Trail during the preliminary platting process.
So
And that ghost platting did not have any other connections.
I know there was some concerns about the residents, about the additional traffic. That was on, was that on Territorial Trail?
That was on Territorial.
Trail, yep.
Yeah.
Trail, yeah. But although it does let the developer do more houses, I don't know. This one seems kind of not fitting well with the old one, but just because the roads are so, they're all straight, and the old one's so curvilinear.
Yeah, I can see the need, I think, for an additional access to East French Lake Road. I don't know that it has to be right where it is, and I follow what you're saying, Jason, that you'd like them farther apart, but not too close to Territorial Road. Seems like that could be done.
To me, I mean, those 3 lots there, between the access just south of that, you put it right there, right on the south edge of that.
Right over the gas line.
And the
there.
gas line.
Right over the gas line.
We'd need to space it some with the gas line just because of the angles with it, so probably immediately north of the gas line.
Right.
And is the appetite to realign East French Lake gone at this point?
I don't know.
I think so.
Because
I mean, it was just a
this
thought.
would kill it, right?
I suspect so. I mean, that was just a thought to potentially better utilize the land to the east of East French Lake Road, just because it's not deep enough to get an access road out there. So if you're really developing on there, you're probably requiring to put a bunch of driveways onto the collector road again. Shifting it over would have allowed to remove that, but that also takes significant coordination with landowners.
Yes. Okay. That ship then is, to some extent, already sailed. Okay. Oh, yeah. I guess, from my standpoint, I agree with the planning commission that, and it sounded like we had some residents say they wanted a more, not necessarily a tot lot.
They wanted a basketball court,
Yeah,
which you'll build, right?
basketball court.
Okay.
Anybody got anything else?
No, I think that the same comments around the need for something different than a tot lot because of the nearness of the other one and the distance to an actual city park is, I think, been problematic for some of these things in this whole area that there isn't one. So I think something that 10-year-olds can play with, 12-year-olds can would gravitate toward versus the tot lot kind of fixtures. Makes more sense to me.
Would you want it to be a city-maintained lot still, or HOA? Wasn't that one of the suggestions that they wanted was?
The parks wanted it to be a public.
City park. I don't have a strong preference on that.
Yeah, I don't.
Hello.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Yes.
Certainly. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Dean Lotter. That's Lotter, spelled like lottery minus the Y. I'm the Division Director of Land Planning for Pulte Homes here in Minnesota. I also have Haley Daly with me. She also works in land planning with us as well. That is her real name, Haley Daly. I just wanted to respond to a couple of comments, and thank you again for your time. I very much appreciate it. Do you need an address, by the way?
That'd be great, yeah.
1650 West 82nd Street, Bloomington, Minnesota, 55431. Maybe a couple of things that I could just elaborate on. We'll definitely, I apologize for the tot lot logo on there. We saw that and realized we probably should have changed that right from the start, just given the proximity to the one that already exists.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely would do like a sport court or something like that to satisfy the council, please the council. With regards to the access to East French Lake Road, I'm pleased to work with city staff on evaluating some different options there. The greatest concern I would have is if we moved it to the north side of the gas easement because of the triangular trajectory of that easement through there. That causes a great deal of disruption to the design and the layout of the neighborhood. Going south of the easement might potentially be an option to consider. And also, we're open to not having an access at all. We've actually contemplated that scenario when we originally met with city staff. That question was raised, and so we have looked at that as well, and we're happy to talk with staff about all those options and bring back something that we think is going to be most pleasing to the council and hopefully the neighborhood as well. The homes that we're proposing are, so there's actually two kinds of homes that are in the existing Territorial neighborhood. Some of those are larger move-up single-family homes. Some of those are villa design, which are meant for kind of empty nesters. What we're proposing in this particular location is the same kind of move-up single-family home. These would probably be middle-high 500s to the middle-high $600,000 single-family homes. You have pictures there that show double-stall garages. We would actually be building these with three-stall garages, so we'd comply with your code requirement for minimum square footage on the garage as well. And as John stated, this is an R3 proposal. We are able to meet your conditions of your R3 zoning code, and we did that deliberately to try to avoid going the PUD route.
Any questions?
So this is concept, and so I guess we shouldn't expect everything to be, completely filled out. But as it relates to the R3 stuff, there's some optional requirements in there that, pick one, pick three, that kind of thing. And some of those are not complete on the documentation that we have today, where it's asking you to pick two and one was selected. Those things would be filled out as the design progresses.
Correct. Yeah, that would be our intent, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Yeah, I think we.
I'm sorry, David.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Just quickly, we talked about engineering and public safety have a little bit of a different perspective. But from a public safety perspective, we would like to see an additional egress to the properties, another entrance as you described, wherever. Otherwise, we get into many different situations. We have a fire, active shooter, whatever it may be. We cut off people from getting to their homes and so forth. It's kind of the same thing what we have across the street here is we have limited access points.
Are you saying in addition to the East French Lake?
Yes. I mean, it would be off East French, somewhere to the south someplace. We just need one more at least.
Yeah. Mayor and Council, he's suggesting that the three that,
One
additional one that's already on there.
It's already on there.
It's already on there, yeah.
Just move it down.
Yeah.
So
Not
keep that
eliminate
one,
it.
you're saying,
Yeah,
and
keep additional.
and add that another one, you're saying.
No. Move that one
Just
down.
move the.
We just need to move it down.
You just want to keep it. You just want to move it.
I don't think you care if it's down or up. You just want one there.
Got it.
Right. I just confirming from a public safety
Yep.
perspective.
Got it.
I figured that.
Okay. This is kind of your final, do you have any plans on making it maybe look a little bit like the other development as far as the roading, or as far as the roads go, or is this kind of it?
Mr. Mayor, we can look at that. The previous layout was actually done by a gentleman named Rick Harrison, that design, and he has a very unique design. If you look at how the trails are laid out and how the roads are kind of curvilinear, it's a very traditional or kind of unique Rick Harrison design. We can, we've talked briefly with our engineer about that. We could probably put more curvation to the roads. I don't know that we can make that look exactly like Territorial Trail just because of
And to be honest, if it stayed like this, I'd be okay with it. It just seems like.
I think there could be some flexibility though.
to try to meet that.
I don't, okay.
Well,
No
maybe
big
when
deal.
if you move the road down,
It kinda
that
changes the
gives you
mood,
the
yeah.
opportunity to bend the road a little
Okay,
bit.
sure.
I don't have a strong feeling about it either.
Any other comments?
No, it's done this way because it's cheaper to do it this way.
Well,
We'll take into consideration with the.
It doesn't make
neighbors
it
that asked
wrong,
us
Scott.
So, so, I mean, I don't have
Okay.
anything else.
well, I think you got what you needed from us.
Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Item O. Let's beat this guy up some more.
Okay, item O. Approval of ordinance 2024-09, amending city code 1001.14 regarding driveway aprons. So,
That looks good.
well, thank you.
They can stay there.
So this has been discussed previously by the city council, if there's a desire to amend the code regarding driveway aprons as well as the minimum garage size. The direction was is keep garages the same and look at driveway aprons. The planning commission has discussed this extensively. Their recommendation was to amend the code to require a 4-foot depth of 8 concrete apron connecting the driveway and the garage. So, and I'll say it was a mixed vote, so
Yeah.
there was a healthy discussion.
And you
about
got
it.
a switch right at the end there.
So,
So,
and what the solution here is why would you not just fill it with sand or gravel? Because that doesn't move.
oh, it doesn't.
Oh, you're talking about the compaction.
Compaction.
Maybe it's
Put gravel
gravel.
in there.
Yeah, but, I mean, no matter what we do with compaction, even if we change materials and say sand, because, yeah, sand doesn't pack, you still gotta prove. I mean, somebody's still gotta be there to inspect it, and that's the problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so just for anyone that might be watching this, so the issue is that when the foundation for the home is dug out, it's a bigger hole that's dug out than what the actual foundation is. The problem is that, now that's not natural soil, so the fill that's brought in compacts over time, and then so the driveways cave in.
It's a little bit fluffy when they go to throw it against the block or foundation, and it settles over time, right?
Yeah, so the correct fix to this would be to compact that fill appropriately, but we have no way of enforcing that
Right.
or being on site when that compaction happens.
So my big thing with this is, and it sounded like we might have had this answer last time, but this is not a 100% fix.
This isn't a solution, no.
But to me, this is a 70% fix, and tar is a 0% fix. That's my hang up with it. And if the cost is the same, I just don't, I'm hung up on why we wouldn't do this. Give me a reason we wouldn't do this. Is it just allowing people to run pavement right up to
Isn't
their?
fixing the problem.
Huh?
That's the reason.
Yeah.
It is, 70% of the time it'll go away. And I threw that number out there just based
I
on,
just feel like the replacing concrete's costlier than
but,
cutting out
Oh, you're adding
tar.
cost to the house, for sure.
Right,
well,
well, yeah, but
no,
even
I
to
don't know
replace
that
it,
you are, and
yeah.
that's my point. What I heard is you're not adding cost to it. Because you still got labor out there for either one,
Yeah, you sure do.
and the
Material.
concrete, if the concrete is, what are you talking about here? How many yards compared to the pavement? I don't know that, everything I've heard is this is a wash, cost-wise.
Oh.
We just had,
I can't believe it.
we should ask Tom.
Right?
Not here.
I just said-
Well, I talked to a builder about this today,
Yeah,
and the solution is to compact the soil.
okay.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
But we don't
And
have
that's
control
what
of
they're
that.
supposed
We
to do.
can't, that's not a solution.
Marty, you got another job.
So, so,
I've owned several houses. Every one of them had the asphalt run right up to the garage slab. Every one of them sunk, and I ended up having to put in a concrete apron. And then it never happened again.
I've got a concrete apron and it's hollow.
Yeah, because they fixed the compaction issue when they did the concrete. Then.
Well, that could be, but, I don't really believe that the difference in material cost here, if they're pouring concrete for the garage, they pour it out the other 4 feet or whatever we're requiring here, then the difference really is the cost of the material, and I don't believe it's enough that the builder's really gonna say, oh yeah, and your $550,000 house now costs $552,000 because we had to, it's not happening. They sell to the market, they're not, there's a relationship between their costs and what they get, but it's not this.
I mean, if it adds $5,000 to the cost of the house, it's really immaterial in a $550,000.
Yeah, and it's not. I think there's a couple $100 difference in the material cost, or a little bit more, because they have to form it up and do a little more handwork than they do with the asphalt. But I'm with Dennis. I don't think it fixes it 100%, but it's a better solution than what we require today. And that's how I'm going to vote.
You're going to replace it.
Well, if it's...
I don't care how we go on it. I mean, the extra cost isn't really, it's immaterial, really, in my opinion.
What's your issue then? Just
that it doesn't fix the problem.
Well, it doesn't.
But
it mostly fixes it. I can tell you it saved me a lot of money.
I've had it butt right up to the garage, and it hasn't moved in 37 years, so I mean, that's my place, but...
Yeah, and...
They build them up quite a bit quicker nowadays. They don't care. I mean, you just slap it in and get her closed.
So mine was built by the owner.
Chain builders, yeah. It's just get it and get it done.
That's what we
have here. Like thinking like 20 years ago when, say for instance, Tom was building his homes, like is that still an issue that they had when they butted right up? I mean, it's the quality of the work, but we can't dictate it. But I just have a problem saying like, yeah, it's a 70% solution, just make it happen. But at the end of the day, it's like we didn't do anything to fix it. Just bought ourselves more time until they have to fix it again. So.
I just want to make one comment. So to fix concrete, if the apron fails and it does dip, you can mud jack it, which is significantly cheaper than putting in a new concrete apron. And if you're going to do an asphalt change, like I say, it sinks and you're going to have to put asphalt over it, you're going to have to take the whole asphalt up and re-put the asphalt down. So it's still cheaper than that to mud jack the apron in front of it.
I look at it as concrete. There's no bad that comes out of this. That's why I'm confused by it. Yeah, it doesn't fix.
A little 10-year-old kid is going to like that piece of concrete there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I made a motion that you approve the apron.
I'll second it.
All right. Then make it out of here
somewhere. But it doesn't fix the problem.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to go home and have a beer, I guess. All right, who seconded it?
Dave.
Any discussion? No. All right. So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no.
No.
All right, 3-1. And if there are no other objections,
You're kidding me.
Adjourned.
I guaranteed him it wouldn't be until 11.
Those first, hallelujah, 4 items.
Thank you.
to smoke
Great night,
through.
everybody. You guys are smoking through them. I loved it. I'm going to start putting these...